It's going to only grow from here. Like we had a lot of challenges. We had no idea what we were doing. The whole setup that we had now, that we were recommended is like a custom, like this isn't like a turnkey, get online, just buy a podcast set. Like everything that we purchased was from the production company that we were using. Yeah. They're like, here's the list, which we thought was like, cool, we're just going to.
Plug and play.
No. And I want to give Britt, she'll never accept it, but I give Britt so much credit because she's, in the last 15 years being together, she can figure out anything. Yeah. Like if I'm struggling, she figures it out.
She's a badass woman though too.
She is. And so we really work well together. And dude, we got to a point we weren't going anywhere. And so we had 3 professionals. One guy in here in town's been doing it for 30 years, runs podcasts. He works with some ginormous companies here in the Valley and all over the world. Yeah. He came up here and he left like, and so then we finally, one of the guys that sets up the podcast for the production company, we finally tracked him down and he came over here and was like, okay, this is what you're missing. And then every time we would order off of these websites, bro, this one website, it's the most confusing shit. And they're on a religious holiday. So you'd order something and then they're on some random religious holiday. I've never, like I'm talking like some Ethiopian holiday. No, I'm not even kidding. Then you're like,
it's not even on the calendar.
Never even heard it. Yeah. But every other day they're on a religious holiday. So then your order just sits there for weeks. Yeah. And then we would get something like the whole backdrop we have coming was ordered over a month ago. Apparently that's trending. We had no idea. So we have 2 out of 6 boxes and now the prices have doubled in them. And when we originally bought them, it has been wild, but I mean, we're here and we've pieced it together. Yeah. We don't even know if this is going to work.
It will.
I
feel like anything you guys have touched works.
Eventually.
I think I've been around long enough to see that.
You have, man. How long have we known each other?
Was it 2020? Well, it was 2011 is when...
So I was still in the Marine Corps.
You had just gotten out. You had been out for like 5 or 6 months.
Dang.
When
2012.
Yeah, 2012.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was at 12, almost 13 years. That's crazy.
That is wild.
I know, it's crazy how fast time flies, And
it's crazy that we both started different lives and ended up in the same town.
And that's the part that trips me out the most. Like, I met you at a gym. Actually, I met Britt at a gym, and she was like, you got to meet my dude. I think you guys will get along. And I was like, okay, cool. And I don't think at that time, I think I was just fresh to the gym at that point. So I wasn't, didn't really have any size on me at the time or whatever. And then I meet you, and I'm like, this fucking massive dude.
I was a gorilla then. I think I was like 290 then.
You were a big boy.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I feel like we just hit it off, and then dude, for years you were like my big brother, and then we had a lot of fun. And then Wishes started and doing all that kind of fun stuff.
We did some Tough Mudders together.
Dude, I was gonna bring that up. That Tough Mudder, man, that was. I think I was smoking cigarettes at that time, and I remember smoking a cigarette on like mile 9, and people were like, "Fuck you, dude."
Did you do 1 or 2 with us? Because we did the Vegas one. Did you do the Cali one with us with Eric
Cali
too?
One, yeah, with Eric. And I remember I carried him for like a mile, dude. And someone had his prosthetics, and I just had him on my back, and I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, this is brutal."
That was one of those moments. Somebody just brought that up not too long ago. I don't know if it was Slate. Somebody. They're like, do you remember when you were bragging about being able to do the monkey bars with a dude on your back and you worked out for months?
Yeah.
And I trained because I had this image in my head that I was going to be this giant dude with an amputee, triple amputee on my back as the V-shaped monkey, and I was going to just
all the way up.
And I got to the second bar. I was like, bail, and
eject button.
I was so smoked by that point. I made it 2 rings or bars up, and I just completely fell. We ended up in the water, and he was almost drowning. He was swimming around like Nemo.
Eric's like, help.
That was one of the most miserable things that I had done at that point in my life.
That's what kicked everything off, though. I don't know. I feel like that was so much fun. I look back on that. I feel like because I really don't feel like we had any rules or any like plan at that time. Like I feel like you knew what you wanted to do. Like you wanted to give back to the combat,
to the community.
And you start this organization and you're just like, I don't know what direction. I just know I need to help people.
Yeah.
And, obviously I, not being a veteran, I was like, hey, I want to be involved, but just, tell me what I can help with. And I feel like, I mean, dude, I think about the amount of work that I think we all put in at the very beginning, even just to the point of getting Eric out there and stuff like that. Like I remember wild. The first, few events. It's kind of crazy how far everything's come.
Britt and I, when we talk about it constantly, because it's been over a decade. I think January is going to be 11 years for us with Wishes. Crazy. And it's hilarious because we'll scroll all the way back on social.
Yeah.
To like the beginning.
Yeah.
And we sit and we look at it and we're just like, oh my God. Like it's almost cringe to us now because we had no idea what we were doing.
Nobody did.
But all we knew we knew what we wanted. We just wanted to help the community. And then that's when dudes were still healing like bandage wise, not mentally. Yeah. Like the dudes still had stitches. Yeah. They had sores. Eric was still getting surgeries done. I don't
think he had his full, didn't he have like temporary prosthetics too at that time? I don't think he had his full.
Because he was still so swollen from the meds and everything. So he was constantly getting new prosthetics fitted and all that. It was crazy times. And like we look back at it now, we're like, oh my God, like how did we even get through that stage? Like we had no idea. It was such a shit show, but we got through it, and then obviously over the years, we just evolved and learned from our failures and then what was great, what wasn't, what the veterans wanted. And it took us a long time to actually get on track and realize like, okay, instead of us giving what we wanted to do, this was, I'm going to be the hero. It was like, hey, once I had to swallow that pride, it kind of checked myself. And then when working with vets and was like, man, what do you guys want? And then once they started voicing what they wanted, and we really shifted gears into instead of us just providing programs, what a lot of organizations do, which there's nothing wrong with. It was like, hey, what can we do? And once we really started going into the community and getting polls and getting their feedback, that's when we're like, oh, cool. And then when we really got away from the hunting side of things, and that went from our biggest program to our smallest program, that just took us to the next level because instead of, not everybody supports the outdoors and not everybody supports hunting, but everybody wants to support a veteran taking his kids out and learning how to do something 100%. Or getting a husband and wife connected again after going through, a husband going through all the traumatic shit he's gone through and a wife having to deal with that. That's when we really shifted gears. So anyways, Kyle.
But that's what matters though. And I think what you guys have done has been pretty damn incredible. And
thank you.
Like I said, being over here over a decade later, and it's still rocking and rolling, dude.
Rocking and rolling. We got a lot of catching up to do. It's been some years. So Kyle, why don't you go into who you are and where you're from? We'll just start right in the beginning.
So Kyle Nations, originally from South Orange County, where we met. I don't know how far you want to go back. Childhood wise, or
Let's go. Let's do it. Wherever you're comfortable with.
Yes, I was born in Buena Park, California. Moved to Mission Viejo when I was, I want to say maybe 9 or 10. And shortly thereafter, my parents divorced, a very nasty divorce.
How was that as a kid? Do
you
remember much of it being that young?
I do, because it was nasty. There was many times where like child services came to school and I talked to police officers, and it was
that bad.
It was really bad. There was a lot of anger and animosity, and at the time I didn't know, I wasn't able to put blame on either parent, because I didn't really know the whole story. But like as I've gotten older now and I know a lot of the reasoning, a lot of that's changed. But and it took a lot of healing with both my parents, because I really didn't. I was mad at them because I had a bunch of friends that were, essentially had two, parent households, and I'm like, why can't you guys figure it out? What the hell's going on? You know what I mean? But yeah, so that was basically what happened. It was a nasty divorce. It lasted for about, I want to say 8 or 10 years, something like that. It was a long time.
It drug on that much.
It drug on.
So they never learned how to co-parent or anything like that. No, it was nasty.
No, they to the point that they were like trying, affecting each other's, businesses, things were happening that, and I don't know if my mom or dad will watch this, but some really horrific things were happening. But yeah, it
did you have siblings?
I did. So I have a real blood older sister. I got 2 stepsisters who, when my mom remarried, my stepdad had 2 daughters. And then when my mom married my stepdad, I think I was 16 or 7, I don't know, 15, 16. They had my little brother, so I have a little half brother too.
Got it.
So it's blended. Yeah, dude, I was angry. I wouldn't say I had a bad childhood, but I feel like once that divorce happened, I just feel like everything went down quick, and my mom was trying to start this new life with her new husband. My dad went off the deep end. And I mean, to be completely open and honest with you, basically my mom cheated on my dad for 4 years. He found out. And yeah, so basically I stayed with my mom because I, couldn't figure out why my dad was going off the deep end when I was that age. And then as I got
What
older,
type of deep end? Where did he? Because I mean, you
he
could go.
disappeared for years. Like
Really?
so we were doing like week on, week off, and he had an apartment next to my middle school, and so I would be at his house for a week, and then I'd go to my mom's house for a week. My sister wasn't talking to my mom at all, my real sister. So I literally came home from school one day. I think I was in 7th grade, 8th grade maybe. There was a couple $100 on the table that said, hey, I gotta take off. Make sure you get to school, feed yourself, and I'll see you soon. And then I didn't see him for like 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
No shit.
Yeah, so he dipped out to Hawaii. And then trying to process that as a kid too, right? Like, where'd you go? And again, I mean, I didn't know what to believe. All I knew was I had, my mom's side of the story, and it was just, there was so much that was happening in such I don't want to say a short amount of time, but just happening all at once.
Yeah.
That I just didn't know where my place was. And like, I was huge into sports. I was, a very high level athlete at a young age. My dates might be correct or incorrect, but I think it was either 2 or 3 years. I was the #1 goalkeeper for my age group, like in either the U.S. or at least like the western side of the U.S. So like, I was playing on club teams. I was on travel teams. I was already being scouted for colleges, different combines.
And your dad's not there for any of this?
No, he was gone, but the thing is that all started when they were together, and then they divorce got nasty, all this stuff. So then my mom got remarried to my stepdad, and I'm trying to remember. So they got married, and then it was a couple years after that I got pulled out of everything, all sports, all of it, because it was basically getting in the way of them starting their new life, and to this day, they still won't admit that. It was your grades, it was your attitude, this and that. I'm like, dude, I was a 14-year-old kid trying to figure out life when I've got a dad that disappeared, a mom that's trying to start a new life with someone else. The one thing I had was sports, and
that was pulled out from you.
Pulled out. So it was what it was. Again, being older now, I've forgiven, but it's, obviously that hurt is still there,
For sure.
and it's one of those things. But so moving forward, so I left when I was 17, was living on couches, couch surfing, all that kind of stuff. I ended up finding an apartment with some friends right next to my high school because I had essentially crashed my car. I didn't have a car, so I had to figure out, how to, do this.
Yeah.
So moved in with all these people, and then come to find out they all turned into heroin addicts. So now I'm living with like 4 heroin addicts. There's like it's a 2-bedroom apartment, and there's 2 people to a room, and I'm living in basically the dining room, paying $250 a month.
And how old are you?
I was like 16 or 17. Yeah. It was kind of wild. So at that point I'd gone to its independent study. So it's like basically this school or this program is for like pregnant teenagers or like gang members or people that had gone to, jail, as a kid. So basically I would go to school once a week, pick up a packet, do the school, do all that stuff. And then the next week I'll drop off the packet from the week before, take a test, pick up a new one so I could work full time. So I could figure out, so I could afford rent.
You didn't pick up any of these habits living in this house?
At the time, no. If any, dude, it's actually pretty crazy. Like I saved one of my roommate's life. And we can get into that story too. I didn't know anything about, I would watch them smoke and, shoot heroin all the time. And, I just saw what it was doing to them. And I'm like, dude, like this is all I can afford right now. So
like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. So then I turned 18, was still living in that place. One of my roommates, well, a couple of them had overdosed throughout the time, but I wasn't there. But this time I was home. I hear the door's closed. I hear his dog going crazy, and I'm like pounding on the door. I'm like, dude, like shut your dog up type of thing. Oh no, that's what the dog was on the patio barking. And so I'm like pounding on his door, like, dude, let your dog in. It's barking. He's not answering. And just so happened, I had a buddy, Zach, who had just gotten back from overseas. He was a medic in the Army. Just gotten back overseas. He was at the house for maybe a day, just hanging out with me. and he's like, dude, something's not right. And I was like, why? And he's like, puts his ear up to the door, and he's like, I hear gurgling. So I walk up, I kick the door down, and lo and behold, one of my roommates is sitting there with his arm tied off, needle in his arm, and he's overdosing.
No shit.
Yeah, so Zach goes over there, basically, does whatever he, does. I get on the phone with 911, get paramedics on the way, all that kind of stuff. I did the sternum rub on him, get him to basically wake up, and then basically as of that's happening, the cops are rolling in, and I remember they took him to the ambulance or the hospital. He comes back gets discharged, comes back the next morning and gets upset at me for calling the cops because I ruined his high. Yeah.
Time to go.
Yeah. But
time to go.
But there is a happy ending to that story. Lost track of that dude for a couple of years. I thought for sure he was dead. Come to find out, he got sober, moved to Georgia, had some kids, started an HVAC company.
No kidding.
Dude, he's a professional bare knuckle fighter now. His
really?
name's Josh Marr. Dude, I never would have guessed in a million years that this dude would have turned his life around like that.
Really?
But yeah, we still talk, like when we'll chat on Facebook and stuff, and he'll be like, dude, remember that time? But yeah, that's kind of a little side note to that story.
Good for him, man. It don't always end like that.
No, though. So all the rest of them actually passed away within a couple of years. So
he's the only one that made it out?
He's the only one that made it out. Yep.
Wow.
So yeah, that's basically what happened with that. But while I was living there, I met my now wife, Ashlyn. So she was ironically dating a guy in the apartment complex who was also doing heroin with, it was pretty, she didn't know this. So, I mean,
oh, really?
No, she didn't know. So she was dating this guy, for like a month or two or whatever. But yeah, this dude would be hanging out at my apartment doing heroin and making out with chicks and doing stuff at, my apartment. And then, she would come over and dude, she was such a rad chick at the time, and I'm like, so I would tell him, like, dude, your girlfriend's like super cool. You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. He's like, oh, blah, blah, being all, junkied out, whatever. So finally, something happened between them. I think he tried to smoke like heroin in her car at some point. And she was like, get the fuck out of my car. Like, what the hell? She was naive to it as well. Like, The only reason why I knew is because again, I lived with these guys and I saw it, but I was naive to drugs and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, they broke up. And we had just become friends over the couple months that she was there, and because we all kind of hung out together, and then we started dating, and here we are 15 years later.
No kidding.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Who would have thought?
I don't even think you knew that part of it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how Ashlyn and I met.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
15 years later.
15 years later, but yeah, it's just our story is pretty wild. We essentially grew up together. Because she's almost 5 years older than I am. So it's, I was 18, she was 20, I just turned 23.
How old were you when we met?
Well, if it was 12, I was 20 when we met.
Because I remember she was older than you, and I was always like, damn, good for you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll sit and lay in bed sometimes and talk about just the past and, this, especially like having a kid now, like everything comes full circle, and it's, we got a pretty wild story, man. I feel like that should be a podcast on its own. It's just our life, you know what I mean? Like because the stuff we've gone through, but she really is an incredible person. And I'm who I am today because of her 100%. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just I would imagine similar to you and Britt, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we're a bit of wild child, and then, you have that woman that really kind of grounds you and not always, defends you, but backs you 100%. Sure. Not saying you always do everything right, but that stands by you through thick and thin. And there's something.
We went through some really dumb times.
And you think back and you're like, man, I was really dumb. But you have some fun.
Took it for granted.
You're young, and I feel like that's the time to do it. And if you can make it through, and that's what I always tell her now, like with all the struggles, like besides, like infidelity or just straight up disrespect, I really don't feel like we couldn't get through anything just because of the stuff we've been through. You know what I mean? But yeah, so back to the story. So then, we moved, to like a little apartment. It was like 600 square foot apartment, lived there for about a year, and then, moved to Dana Point. So then we lived in Dana Point for a little while. And then, I think 2011, something like that is when we moved to Murrieta.
Yep.
And that's when I met you.
Was that an NC3?
NC3, which rest in peace, isn't there anymore. I think it's called Powerhouse now.
Oh, it's still a gym?
Yeah. So from what last I know, it's still a gym.
That gym was wild. I ended up beating up the owner's son there. Were you there that night when I ripped him over the counter?
I was not.
Yeah,
no.
I just told that story not too long ago. And
no
then
way.
Then the owner called me and canceled my membership.
It wasn't that lady?
Yes, the Russians.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was a nut job, dude.
She was crazy, and her son was a little shit.
I remember her son. Yeah.
He would play like Puff the Magic Dragon and
Yeah.
like YMCA, and he'd blast it every time I'd walk in just to mess with me.
Yeah.
And then he just caught me on the wrong day, and I went up to the counter, and I was like, "Yo, like you're poking a bear." Like,
yeah.
And even it was at the point it was so loud and obnoxious. Like women, like on the we're over there complaining because he would turn it up so, and he would just sit there and laugh and stare at me the whole entire time.
Dude, now that you mention it, I do remember that. Not that you beating him, but I do remember like the shenanigans he would pull.
Yeah, he just messed with people, and then he caught me on the right day, and I grabbed him and I yanked him over the counter and slammed him, and I hit him a couple of times. He's like, "I'm calling my mom," and then he comes up with his phone shaking and hands me the phone, and I slapped it out of his hand at first. I was like, "Get the fuck away from me!"
Oh my god!
He's like, "My mom wants to talk to you," and I was like, "What?" She's like, "You no longer have membership," like screaming at me and some crazy Russian shit.
Did you lose your membership for that?
Oh, they yanked it right there on the spot. Yeah, and that's when I ended up going the 24-hour. Right there in that shopping complex.
Those were some fun times, though.
It was wild, bro. That was wild. I was so juiced out of my mind then.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm dealing with that now.
What do you mean?
So, dude, this last year and a half, I've been like exhausted, constantly tired, like irritable. Like, dude, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I had no like energy to do anything. So I like when I got some blood tests, I'm like, dude, maybe like I'm sick. You know what I mean? When I got blood tests, my tests came back at 142.
No kidding.
Yeah. Like my wife has more tests than I did at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so now I just got on actually testosterone supplements about a month and a half ago trying to.
Have you felt anything yet?
I really feel like this last injection, this last week, I noticed a difference. Like where I woke up in the morning and I wasn't just completely exhausted. And that would be the thing, dude, whether I slept for 12 hours or 4 hours, I felt the exact same. Like this last year and a half was brutal. And like trying to start a company and do stuff when you just feel like garbage all the time. But yeah, and I'm starting to feel it now.
You're probably doing it much different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually,
I was just filling syringes and just, I
definitely wasn't getting, I think
you were running gear back then, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were,
yeah.
Cause I remember it was you, me, Travis, the trainer.
Yeah.
Figgins, which he's like big TikToker now. Yeah. I saw him not too long ago on TikTok. I was like, all right, good for you. Oh no, not Figgins. Who was the? He's got long hair. He drives.
Ricky Duncan.
Ricky. Yeah. He's the big TikToker. Figgins. Are they still together?
They're still together.
That's good. I remember because they met there. They were young kids when we were there.
Yeah. I know. I think I'm still friends with everybody on social media, but I mean, communicate. I don't really talk to a lot of them. A couple years ago, I used to play Call of Duty with Ricky online. Okay. Yeah, but he got into like OnlyFans and stuff too. Like that dude's making money.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Remember, like,
good for him. He's got that look.
Yeah, he's got that. Remember Brock O'Hearn, that like long haired, like.
Yes.
So he's got that same, like, Thor.
He's all tatted up. Beautiful man with beautiful hair. Yeah.
Pisses me off, dude. Yeah. Like 6'4", 245, and just looks like chiseled. I'm like, I'm built like a 14-year-old girl, and I'm like, it just sucks, dude. It's like everyone's like, why'd you do steroids? I'm like, look at me, dude. Like, it was rough.
Yeah, that was that whole community was wild.
Yeah, actually, I think that was, you almost beat my ass one day.
Did I?
Yeah, because again, I'm not going to, I don't know what the laws are now and how much time can pass.
We're past the
statute of limitations. Yeah, so I think I had a connection, and Figgins, you were waiting on a shipment. And Figgins called me and was like, "Hey, can you get me anything?" I was like, "Oh yeah." So I got it for him, and you're like, "You motherfucker, you're undercutting me." I remember I was on the incline dumbbell press at NC3, and you basically were like, "Lose my number, don't fucking talk to me again." I was like, "Damn, dude." I was like, "Brian's like my brother." I was on the incline bench, and I just finished a set, and you walked up and like launched me off, like rolled me off the incline bench.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember this? And we stood up, and I think Britt might have been involved too. And she was like, "Brian, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Dude, I don't get why because that was the thing is I didn't even know why you were so mad at me for like a week. And I just kept texting you like, "Brian, what's going on?" And you're just like, "Don't fucking talk to me." I was like, "Dude, okay."
Such a douchebag then.
I want to say douchebag.
No,
I mean,
I was a certified douche, like for a long time. Like I've talked to people back there, like, man, you've changed. I'm like, yeah, not
dude.
the same dude anymore.
But people have to remember too, like that was back when social media was kind of just gaining traction, and you had following, you were growing.
I was a fucking douchebag, bro. I was growing big on social then. I was all about the image and had the whole BAM persona. I had to live up to that shit.
Yeah.
I was an asshole. Yeah. My bad. I apologize.
Dude, I'm hearing now, like I said, and it's funny because dude, even when I told Ashlyn that you'd like hit me up, she's like, oh my God, like, how are they doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I'm gonna, go, catch up with them. But I don't know. I was generally on your good side, so I didn't really catch the negative side of the BAM antics. But
there was a lot of fights and a lot of just dumb shit then. Old Town, there was a fight every weekend down there.
Yeah. Actually, I remember you and I, we fought that group of guys at the, what was that one bar?
Edge.
At the Edge, yeah. Yeah.
I need that dude in the face that night, and I forgot about that.
Yeah. I don't remember how that started. I just remember
I know exactly how it started. Was Travis there that night?
Yep.
There was a dude that worked with me there, and he was dating that black chick.
Okay.
What was her name? Sophia.
Okay.
She worked there. She was one of the hostesses there.
Okay.
And this dude walked up and just dropped like the N-bomb and just like trash her in front of all of us. And that's when we hopped the railing.
That's right.
And we got in that group.
I was ordering a drink, and all I turned around and I saw you had some dude like by the throat, and you were just like teeing off on this guy. And then I think, Travis was in. I feel like there was somebody else there too.
He was a big redheaded dude, yoked out of his mind. He was an Army vet.
That's right. I just started hitting dudes. I didn't know who was involved. It's just whoever was there. It was just like.
I think I got in a fight because I was bouncing there.
Yeah.
That was the greatest place. That guy literally was like, "Hey, I'll pay you to beat people up here," and I was done.
You were what? I mean, you were
25.
5, yeah, at that time.
25, 26.
Because you're what? How old are you now?
Just turned 40 in August.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I didn't get hurt there. Yeah. I mean, and then you had all the UFC gyms right down the street.
Everyone's a badass.
Everybody's a badass. Yeah. You got Hell's Angels. You got all the Supercross dudes.
Yep.
All the UFC fighters. All the cholo ass gangbangers that wanted to roll through there.
It was
all the
weird
Marines.
Town.
I fought so many Marines there.
You actually had Pendleton right there.
There. I think I fought more Marines, and nobody had a clue I was a Marine. I might have been just getting out, or I was just out then. But and then it was literally Friday and Saturday I would come home after like just fighting all night, and then Britt would show up, and I'm like, here we go. And then something would happen then, and that was a fight every day, dude. That was and then we would just bar hop, and after that bar would close, we'd go down to the bank,
Dude, the bank was there.
What was that big Mexican dude? That Tiny, we called him Tiny, but
I don't remember his real name. He was as wide as he was tall.
Ginormous, and he would just let us fight everybody there.
Yeah.
One of the biggest fights I ever got was one of the first Wishes vet trips that we ever did.
Yes.
With Dom.
Yep.
Was at the bank there, and that's when that whole bar erupted, and I literally, it was women, children. I was punching everybody. So I fought for my life that night.
I left like 15 minutes before that because I think actually Ashlyn and I were in an argument or something, and I had just left, and I remember you calling me being like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm on the 15. Why? What's up? You're like, we just got in this big fight. Where the fuck were you? I'm like, I literally had just left. Didn't Dom beat someone's ass too?
Yeah, we ended up catching charges when we got back from Mexico. We fled to Mexico the next day on the Wishes trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that dude for hours, and these two Marines that started that whole fight with us, and they were jealous because we were telling everybody. I got to have Dom on to tell this story, but he's a cool dude. We were telling everybody we were filming an episode of Shark Week because he's missing his leg, it was August because we were going to Baja for my dirty 30.
That's right.
And we were telling everybody we were filming an episode of Shark Week, and I was the producer. Dom was obviously the victim. He got attacked by a shark. He lost his leg in overseas, and we were filling up his prosthetic, the bar,
doing, drinks out of it. Yeah,
all the bartenders, all the bouncers, everybody knew we all hung out at each other. So we walk in, we give him the leg, and they're filling his leg up at the tap, and we're passing it around, and people were just drinking out of his leg. It was so gross. And these two dudes, these two Marines, they're towered over Dom.
Yeah. Because he's not a big guy, but yeah.
He's a scrabber. He's a Golden Glove boxer, like in high school or whatever. And I'm just get 2 new drinks, and he nudges me, and I look at him. These 2 dudes are standing over him, like, "You good, bro?" And he looks at me, and I just picked him up from the airport, drove him to the house. We didn't even know each other. He was like through a friend, recommended this wounded veteran, and I was like, "Fuck, let's go to Baja for my birthday if you guys want to party with us."
Those are some crazy times. Yeah.
And those 2 dudes towered over him. Dom looks at me and nods. I looked at him, and I looked at those dudes, and I nod back at him. I put the drinks down, and he turns and just hammers this dude.
Yeah.
The other dude hits Dom, knocks Dom down. I hit that dude, and then the whole bar just erupts.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, this was the craziest shit. This woman jumps on my back and is clawing my face.
That's right.
She's on me, and she's scratching my face, and I remember bending over, and all her hair, this long hair comes down, and I'll never forget, her nail went in my gums. I felt her fingers in my mouth, and I was like, "Motherfucker." And I grab her by her hair, and I over me, and this dude comes off my back, and I look at him, and it's just like this hippie old man. And I was like, "Motherfucker." And I start stomping this dude, because I remember my gums, I thought I could just taste blood, and like scratching my face. It was some hippie jumped on my back and starts clawing my face, and I thought it was a woman. And then that's when the whole bar erupts.
Isn't it crazy, the stuff, like, in those moments, the little details you remember?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was insane. And I'll never forget, I grabbed Dom, and that's when Tiny was at the door.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like get out of the bar.
Yeah.
And Dom got behind me, and I just started hitting everybody. Yeah. And I just made a path out, and we're leaving for Baja the next day, and my flip-flop comes off. And I get Dom out of the bar, off the because the bank had that outside patio. I shove him out, and I go back in, and Tiny tries to stop me. I was like, "I need my flip-flop," and I fight my way back in the bar. And I don't know if it was GY6, somebody that night I see them hold my flip-flop up, and
someone
had
it, right?
and I catch my flip-flop, put it on, and fist fight my way back out of the bar. And that's when I was like, "I'm going to go get the truck." And I look, and as soon as I look, Dom just cleans this dude in the street, knocks the guy out.
Did the dude follow him out, or was he?
I don't even know. So I got jumped outside of the bar, and I had like 3 dudes on me. And I remember I was like tucked and like I was getting my ass whooped at this point. And I look, and Dom hits the ground, and his leg falls off. And I was like, "They got Dom!" And like the Hulk, Dom's down. And I like turn into the Hulk, and I just start going crazy. Get myself out of those 3 dudes that were whooping my ass. One of them was a biker. I don't even know why he was fighting me.
Yeah.
And that's when Dom gets up. I help him up, and I'm like, "We got to get to the truck." And this dude was behind his chick like, "What's up? What's up?" And he turned his head, and in the second that guy turned his head, Dom was like, and just clocks this dude, knocks him out. We get in the truck, and then we fled to Mexico the next day. And
you guys caught charges for that on the way back?
Yeah. Soon as we hit service, man, like private investigators.
I remember getting called about it. And that's the only reason why I remember, like, I left early, and I was like, "I don't know. I wasn't there." And they're like, "Well, we have video of you there." And I was like, "Dude, they have video of me leaving." And I remember they wanted to send an officer to talk to me, and I was like, "You guys obviously see me leaving, so I don't know." And they're like, "Well, who were the guys in the video?" I'm like, "I don't know, dude. Like, you guys are, I literally was wrong place, wrong time." And that was just the story I stuck with.
Yeah, the private investigator called, and he was like, "So, are you a bigger sized guy?" And I was like, "Possibly."
It's all relative.
depends on what you're comparing me to. And he's like, "Were you wearing a white shirt that night?" And I was like, "I was." And he's like, we
need to talk.
Yeah, you really worked the crowd that night." And I was like, I called Tiny. I was like, "Oh, why'd you give him the video?" He's like, "Dude, they just showed up."
I remember. But wasn't there a thing about them not even having a warrant? Like the bar just gave it to them.
No,
right?
So what happened was, obviously the cops and everything showed up, but the dude that Dom hit, he ended up like breaking his orbital socket, and when he knocked him out, and the guy ended up went to the hospital. The guy's mom pressed charges, the guy's mom's who hired the private investigator, and somebody had a cell phone video, and Dom's got the Purple Heart tattoo on his forearm.
Yep.
They YouTubed Purple Heart tattoo forearm on Marine. The fucking first video that pops up is Dom's Golden Glove boxing video, and so we're done.
That's
so
crazy.
yeah, we went to Baja, partied for a week, came back, and kind of shit on our parade on that one.
See, I didn't know that you guys actually got, like I said, I just remember
they
getting
dropped
called.
everything because Dom ended up playing like the crazy vet card, and that just got blown up and all that other shit. I mean, we played that card. I mean, everything.
Dude, he deserves it.
Yeah, talk shit, get hit, like
100%.
So yeah, that was a wild time. That whole era, like I wish I could just delete and just.
I know, it's like I think back on it and it's like, yeah, we had some fun, but yeah, I'm not proud of a lot, because I went through some dark times as well. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. And I always say this, like I've never regret anything I've done. I sound cliche, but it makes you who you are today, right? You got to live and learn. You got to go through stuff. So it's not like I regret it. Do I cringe at it when I think about stuff? Absolutely. Do I think about the decisions I made? I'm like, yeah, dude, I made some dumb decisions, but
it's the past.
It was the past.
I'm going to lay on my deathbed one day and I'm going to be laying there like, I got some damn stories.
Yeah. Now we're sitting up in your second story of your house in Idaho and talking about it. It's crazy how, life comes full circle.
So what brought you to Idaho?
Dude.
Since you're a fleeing Californian.
I know, right? Actually, can we pause that? My phone keeps going off. I just want to make sure. So what brought me to Idaho? Honestly, cost of living, trying to figure out, well, actually a lot of it, I was trying to become a cop in California for a while. I don't know if you remember that.
You and Slate were on that path.
Yep. So we were both going through departments. And one of the main things, so I would get all the way through to the interviews with like Orange County sheriffs and like different departments, and they would deny me because of the steroid use, because you had to be 6 years or whatever it was outside of
shit. So catching you, huh?
So I would didn't matter, any of the other, I would crush it in the PT test. I would crush it on the interviews. They, everything would be, I would score high. And then we would get to the point of the deep background. And then, they tell you to be honest. So I'd be honest.
Oh, hell no. You lie your ass off on that shit.
Yeah. But I was just trying to be, I took it as if I'm just upfront and honest with them, maybe they'll, think of it like, okay, well, obviously this guy has some integrity. No, and mind you, both times I got denied by Orange County sheriffs, the sergeant sitting across from me, juiced out of his mind, is sitting there, and
bro, I was buying steroids off of a narcotics cop for a long time. He was my plug.
That's what I'm saying. So it was so corrupt. And I'm like, the second time I called the guy out, I'm like, you're going to sit across the table from me. I was like, you guys just, cause it was like a 6-month process to get to this point. I was like, so you guys drug me on for 6 months and you're going to disqualify me for doing steroids at this point, 4 years before. And I was like, your veins are popping out of your neck. I'm like, dude, you're 5'4", 230 pounds.
You're juiced.
You're ripping, just you can just tell when people are, on gear. Their shoulders, what I mean?
It's clear
skin.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're gonna sit here and, judge me. So that I basically had kind of exhausted the local departments there. And, I feel like, especially in California at that time, like once you got blackballed for, some reason, like any department, really no department's gonna pick you up type of thing. At least that's what I was being told in that, So my sister had actually moved out here in 2011, 2012, something like that. And she was with Boise PD.
Okay.
And so she was like, dude, we need cops out here. Like, you should come out here. And I was like, well, what's their, policy on this and that? And she's like, well, Boise PD at the time, you needed a college degree, which I didn't have, but there was surrounding departments that, at that point I'd already gotten beyond the years that I needed to, be okay. Right. Yeah. So Ashlyn and I were living this little, 600 square foot condo.
Still in Marietta, right?
No, at this point we had moved back to Dana Point right before we moved to Idaho.
Because I was in Afghan, I think, when you guys moved.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Afghan on contract.
You were contracting.
Okay, yep.
Yep, and then right before we moved, I remember me, you, Britt, and Eric went to lunch, I think in like Oceanside or something like that. We drove down, and I think that was the weekend that I had left. So I had come out like 6 months earlier to start the academy, and then Ashlyn came out after me. So I want to say I came out end of 14, I believe, is what it was.
Really?
I believe so.
Okay.
I can go back and like look at pictures, but I want to say it was like the end of 14. I moved out here because I started the academy. So before that, so then I start applying to departments out here. They go on a like every department goes on a hiring freeze besides the state.
No.
for like years. And so, yeah, so like I applied to all these departments, you know,
So you move out here because your
Yeah.
sister's on and she's
Yeah.
like, it's going to be great.
it's just gonna be great. So I was like, cool. So I started applying. And then, this is kind of the funny thing is, initially, so when I applied to all the departments, I ended up applying for the Department of Corrections too, which is obviously a state agency. Well, I'd also applied to ISP. So I'd gone through, I had did like, you know, I wasn't Zoom, I don't think at that point, but there was like a video conference that we did for the interviews, all this stuff, where they're like, hey, we want to move forward. Cool. So I fly out, do the interview, and it wasn't until I got out here for the first final in-person interview that I realized it was for the Department of Corrections and not the Idaho State Police.
Wait, the whole entire time you're going through this process, you thought you were ISP?
With ISP.
But it's corrections.
Because I applied to all of them. I literally just like...
Shotgun blasted it all.
Exactly. And so, but as the stuff was coming through, it was just coming through state of Idaho. So I didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? And we were so desperate just to get out of California that I was like, dude, I'll take anything. You know what I mean? So I fly out here, go through the interview, and I'm like, and I keep seeing Department of Corrections. I'm like, oh God, what did I do? You know what I mean?
Would you have come regardless if you would have known it was corrections ahead of time? Would that kind of deterred you, or were you in?
I think we were so desperate to just get out of California.
For sure.
You know, because like that was kind of right when, you know, Trump started his run for, you know, and that's kind of when the political environment in California started getting pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Like just started. So I think we were just like the cost of living, you know, my sister was telling me what, you know, houses cost and what rent was out here at that time. Dirt cheap. You know, we were paying, you know, $2,300 a month for a 600 square foot condo. And we could get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $900 a month. You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, we're out of here. So I was really looking for, I think we're both for any opportunity to get out of California, just for the longevity of ourselves. We want to start a family, like all that kind of stuff. So, so I think, yes, I still would have, but it was one of those things. So that's when I found out that all these departments went on hiring freezes, is they didn't have the money to hire and like all this stuff. So they were dumping the money into more training for their current officers and to bringing on other officers. So Idaho Department of Corrections was ramping up and bringing in, you know, more officers. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll do this for a couple of years. And then, you know, once the hiring freeze, you know, opens up, I can either lateral over to ISP or I can start, you know, applying to Meridian or Nampa or, you know, all these other departments, you know? And I was like, I feel like it would look better on my applications if I'm already in law enforcement, because in the state of Idaho, you are a sworn in peace officer. And so I figured that would be, you know, the best bet.
And then just move over.
Exactly. And it was, I think it was like $13.75 an hour or something like that is what you started as the academy. But
for the academy. Okay.
Correct. But then when you got, you know, when you actually went to one of the institutions, I think you went up to like 14 something and whatever. Still very low. But Ashlyn at the time had, you know, started her brow, you know, business. She was on her own.
She was crushing, right?
She was doing really well in California. It wasn't until she moved out here and started her you know, salon here, and that's when it absolutely blew up. But and we can get into that too. But yeah, so it was just one of those things that, you know, I was like, look, I'll work here and then, you know, we'll lateral over. So go through the academy with the Department of Corrections. It was, I don't know, what was it, 12 weeks, 14, something like that. It was.
What's the academy like for,
dude, I'm not gonna,
for a correctional officer?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. So I showed up to the academy.
Did you go through with Slate at this time?
No, Slate was after me.
Okay.
So he got the benefit of like, he had gone through like 2 or 3 classes after me. And so like, I was able to like tell him what's happening, what's coming up, like all that kind of stuff. And like, really, I mean, Slate, he's, you know, strong, you know, athletic dude. So he was going to do well anyways, but like test wise and, you know, the surprises that they do to you in the academy, like all that stuff, like I will let him know.
Okay.
Like, hey, you know, so he would be able to excel. But anyways, so I walk in.
Is this day one?
Day one of the academy. It's business casual, you know, so slacks, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I walk in, there's probably 40 something people in here. And I'm like, holy crap. So then I start looking around at everybody, and I don't want to sound like a dick, but the capable, able-bodied people that I saw, there was like maybe half the room. And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, oh my God, dude, half these people look like they play World of Warcraft at home and, you know, or just are out of shape or whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, you know, people will get weeded out, and I don't want, dude, I've met some, heftier dudes or smaller dudes or whatever that are badasses. Don't get me wrong. Like it's just off of, initial appearance. Nobody looked put together. It was very, like I would put it this way, I was overdressed as like business casual with like slacks and a polo.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, take pride in what you're doing, this and that.
So there's your first red flag.
First red flag. But like the academy, directors and stuff, like they were all, dressed well. They, carried, it was a very, militaristic, setting. Like they were, staying at attention. They were all like, so I had faith in that,
Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool.
So you're thinking these people are all going to get winged out.
Exactly. So I'm like, the people that will make it, I can't just judge everybody based off their, personal looks. Like they could be smart. I mean, the girl over here could be a Golden Glove boxer. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And, to be honest, like I'm not the biggest guy. Like they didn't know my background and what I could do too. So it's not like, I'm this big intimidating dude.
Yeah.
But, so I get there within the first week. Fun, actually, little side note thing. So, this girl that sat behind me was this little blonde girl. She was like 5 foot, nothing. And they're going around the whole thing and they're, introduce yourself, who you are, why you want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And so this girl stands up and she's like, my name's whatever. I don't really know why I want to do this. I make a lot of money. I just think it'd be really cool to, work in a prison. And obviously saying something like that is going to cause, some people to be like, huh?
Some questions.
Yeah, some questions. So, nobody really said anything, but then about 3 days later, all of a sudden she was no longer, cause we already had like assigned seating, like she was no longer sitting behind me. Coming to find out, they did a deeper dive and found out she was an OnlyFans girl. And this is like right as OnlyFans was starting.
Really?
And yeah, she didn't disclose it on her thing. And yeah, so she had like whole stage name and everything. And she was like, making money off OnlyFans and thought it'd be cool.
And just bored?
Just bored. Yeah.
Had some weird fetish or some shit?
She comes pulling up and at the time it was like a brand new Corvette, slammed body kit, this whole 9 yards. Day 2, she shows up in this F-350, huge lift, like, dude, spinners on it. The thing was nuts. And I'm like, for 14 or 13 something dollars an hour, like, it just didn't make sense. So I thought that was kind of funny that, by day 3, the OnlyFans girl, and I don't even know if it was OnlyFans at that time. It was like basically like a cam girl or whatever.
No kidding.
Yeah, so making money. So anyway, so that was kind of one of the first ones too. But really by like the end of like week 1 or 2, because they start with PT tests and stuff like that. And there was quite a few people, like I would say our
How many
class,
did you start with? Do you know?
If I were to, I would probably say 44.
You started with?
Yeah, and I think we graduated with maybe 30, 28, 30.
Okay, that's not as bad as I was thinking.
Actually, no, I think there was like 54. 54,
Okay.
and I think we graduated like just under half.
Okay.
And honestly, the half that did graduate, of those people that I told you about at the very beginning, like the majority of them were gone, but there were still, but I had to give it to them. Like, dude, you guys went through everything that we went through. They passed the PT test. They did all this
What
stuff.
are you guys going through for them to go through? Like, how tough is going through this correctional class? Or
if you're athletic, it's not difficult. I mean, you have your base push-ups, sit-ups, just like the Army, just like anything else. What is it? It's like 15 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, and I don't know, something like that. Then you had to like do a couple of pull-ups or something like that. It wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then that was the other thing too, is they made like waivers for people. Like if you couldn't do a pull-up, then you had to do more of something else, I thought was kind of weird.
Wait, so if you couldn't do like 20 push-ups, you can just do sit-ups instead?
Yeah, you could do like double the sit-ups or something like that.
Oh my.
And then again, I don't know if that's just kind of, I think the department was hurting bad enough to where they just didn't even care. They were just like, if you got a heartbeat and the ability to do something, like we're bringing you in,
You're hired, son.
You're hired. So yeah, so that, it wasn't a hard academy. I honestly struggled with more the academics aspect of it.
Really?
Yeah,
what's the curriculum like?
So you've got this giant packet. It goes through like state law, it goes through your do's and don'ts. It goes through, arrest techniques. There's different portions throughout the academy that you had to pass. Like they would teach arrest techniques for a week, and dude, people would be bruised and beat up and stuff because you're getting thrown around and armbarred and all this stuff, all week long. And so, it was just, kind of stuff like that was pretty easy, but yeah, like they would do these tests and they would test you on law and policy and all these things. And it was all trick questions. And it was one of those things where it's like, it was explaining how important, it is to know your policy because people's lives are at stake, and if you start abusing power, doing this, you can get yourself in legal problems and blah, blah, blah. So that personally, I feel like that was the toughest part for me, was like the test taking. Like the athletic stuff I was cool with.
Yeah.
But I mean, on a scale of, I've never been to basic training, but a couple of guys that were in there were basically saying, like, if basic training was a 10, this was probably like a 4, to be straight up honest with you.
I was going to ask if there was any vets in there.
Yeah, there's quite a few vets, 2 Marines and then a couple of Army guys.
Okay.
The 2 Marines were active duty from a different state. I think the Army guys were all National Guard.
Yep.
It wasn't, like I said, it was one of those things where I really had to like kind of humble myself and go, you know what, like, can't judge people. Like, it's got to get through this. At the end of the day,
I need a job.
I need to get out of California and I need a job. No, and at the end of the day, if they're doing everything I'm doing, they're going to be on my left and my right, and they've got to trust me and I've got to trust them, type of thing.
Do you guys do any like gas chambers or anything while you're in training?
So not gas chambers. So I did in the CERT Academy. Because we did the CERT Academy.
What's the CERT Academy?
So the CERT is like you're the basically the SWAT team for the prisons.
Okay, I want to get into that, but not yet. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, for the CERT Academy, we did do gas chamber and stuff, but for the Corrections Academy, they did OC. So
you just get sprayed?
Yeah. So, but it's not like the streamers; they get the foggers, and so you'd stand there and they basically paint you orange, and then
like you wouldn't fogger your fur, almost like a bear, like grizzly spray,
exactly.
like it just covers everything.
They call it a Mark 9. So yeah, the can's about yay big and it's got a big fogger handle on it and it just like dusts you. And yeah, then you sit there and blink until it gets in your eyes, obviously. And then you got to run a course where you have to, throw so many kicks and punches, and then you have to tackle someone, put them in, restraints. And then you got to, run a course and, type of thing. And it was all, and that was the other part too. I feel like the pass fail rate, as long as you like just completed everything, they passed you, which in my eyes, that's not a pass to me. Like, you should be able to fundamentally like operate through it, not just
I get what you're saying.
Survive. You know what I mean? And that's, I feel like, I don't know the percentages, like 75% of the people just survived through it.
Mm-hmm. I've been to courses like that where you had to like fight people and defend yourself, and you'd see people just absolutely lose their shit, but they got through it.
Exactly.
And then they're standing there and you're like, how? No way. That motherfucker, I literally fought my ass off. And that dude did not. Why is he still standing? Yeah.
Like, if and when you are in the situation where you get OC sprayed and you've got, a pissed off inmate with a shank in front of you, like, he's not going to care that you're sprayed. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be able to fight through it. Which, down the years of being with them, and like I said, we'll get into all that, but, dude, I saw a lot of people get hurt because of that. Because
really,
yeah, like, dude, there was people that, would get sprayed and would panic, and, I would be wrestling with a dude on the ground trying to get him in restraints. We're all covered in OC.
Nobody wins.
No.
Nobody's a winner unless you're open out in the conditions, like open environment, and you got a good breeze.
Yep.
If you're in a close environment, nobody wins. No one wins with OC spray.
Dude, I would take a 30-second taser ride over OC any day.
Really?
Any day.
I feel like I'm the opposite.
See, the thing with taser is once it's done, it's
done. It's done.
I
have a phobia of electricity, though.
Really?
Yeah, I've rode the lightning pretty bad, and I got actually at the old house in Temecula, I was trying to steal my neighbor's fuse out of his circuit breaker once, because ours.
Is there a backstory to why you're trying to do that?
Well, those houses were, right there by Pechanga. Those houses were old, but like ours, like kind of like fried up. It was like 150 degrees one day, and like I don't know. Anyways, the next door, nobody was living next door forever, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna go pop one of theirs out, and I'll put it in mine. The end of the screwdriver, it wasn't like a full rubber; it had like the metal cap. So I'm like, and it like arced off and just floored me.
I don't know what that wattage is, but that
it was a lot. Yeah. It was enough to see Jesus for a second, and then I got tased by his cop once. Fuck me, dude.
This story.
I feel like if a cop pulled a gun on me, I'd be like, you're not gonna shoot me, and you pull a taser, I am whatever you need. Give me I'll cuff myself. Like,
just hand him over. I'm done.
But I've never been like bear sprayed. I've always done gas chambers. Yeah. But I feel like I can't compare the two. But like,
CS gas is Wait, you have done CS gas or you have?
Yeah, well, they would, but like when we were young troops, they would just lock us in the gas chamber.
Yeah.
Like, so you'd go through your shit, and they fucked with us one time where they're like, "Who thinks they're a badass?" And of course, being young dumbass Marines. Yeah. Oh, we're all badasses, and so all the capsules. You know how an OC chamber works? How they burn the capsules? It's just a crisp, and it turns to a gas. They were like, okay, see who's badass. You could run in one door and run out the back of the gas chamber. So we all like stack on this door.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you guys ready? They didn't tell us they had the back door locked. So we all go
barreling
in, and then they closed the door behind us. And those motherfuckers locked us in this gas chamber for like a long time.
Did you guys have masks?
No, that was the thing. Well, we did the mask thing early on, which I fucked up really bad. To this day, I don't even know how I screwed up so bad because, when you go into a gas chamber and you line along the walls and you're looking at your buddies and you're like, oh, this is going to suck, this is going to be miserable. And they give you instructions and you got to do your jumping jacks and you got the instructors in there that are, okay, this is what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know what the instructor said, but what I heard was don and clear your mask.
Okay.
So I take it off, and I'm standing there forever until I run out of breath.
Yeah.
And I couldn't open my eyes, and the whole gas chamber's
looking at you like, what the fuck?
I'm like, I put it back on, trying to clear my mask, and now I'm full. I'm riding it. Yeah, I'm full in.
You're contaminated. Yeah.
And so done. They're still giving their period of instruction. I'm just eating it, right? The instructors are laughing.
There's nothing you can do.
Everybody's laughing. Then I had to go and don and clear again. Then when you leave, and it was absolutely miserable. But then, there's a lot of, we were getting ready to deploy. So they're doing like the battalion or the company at the time. So there's a lot of Marines have to go through. So it doesn't last 30 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
45 minutes, you're good. It's gone. Then at the end, they had all the capsules left. They're like, who thinks they're the baddest dudes in the company? And so like half my platoon were all like, we are.
Yeah.
And so they're like, hey, you're going to run through, no masks. Like you're going to run. They want us to do like 3 laps inside.
Inside the chamber and then leave.
And then run out. And the chamber was, I'd say this size of this room, maybe a little bigger. Yeah. And then they had the burner in the middle and so they dump all the capsules at the end. So you walk in like, normally you can see inside the gas chamber. You can see it when we ran in, dude. You're like,
it's like fog. You can't,
fog. They dumped everything and then they locked us in there. And there's video of us coming out. Like he's still in the Marine Corps. His name's Kyle Hales. He's I think he's a major or something now. But he ended up going enlisted and going to officer side.
Yeah.
There's a video of him running out, and there's just snot, just pour. I mean, we were miserable. They locked us in there and fucked with us for like 5 minutes and then they let us out. But so I've never been I've been pepper sprayed ish.
Yeah.
But I've never been like the point blank, like you're doing. So
yeah.
I don't know if I would compare. I know that's probably a long rant, but I don't know if I would compare. I do just electricity, man. I don't play with it.
I mean, either would suck. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't sound like I prefer one over the other, but the thing with OC is like, not only does it suck when it happens, but then even after that 30 to 45 minutes, like you have to wash it off. Yeah. And then like later on, like the first time I ever got sprayed, I took a shower and didn't realize, so
it all goes down.
There's a lot of different things that, you learn every time you get sprayed.
I'd say probably now at this point in my life, I would just I'd tase me and get it over with. Yeah. But then like, cause I guess I've forgotten like the thrill of the ride of electricity.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you just kind of, and you're just, I don't know.
5 seconds, you're done and over
exactly.
with.
I just, the OC, and you'd be surprised, like the amount of people that, drop out just out of anxiety of the OC week. Like we had probably 3 or 4 people drop out just in the anxiety and anticipation of it. Yeah.
No shit.
And it's like, you guys, and mind you, they do this like at the very end. So you've already been through everything. You still have one final test, but That's really like your last thing before like your final test. And people, would have like panic attacks and wouldn't be able to, it'd freak them out that much. And like the instructors don't help you by any means. Like are
they feeding into it?
Oh yeah. They make it sound, but that's the other thing too, is they kind of make it sound way worse than what it was. Like it sucked. Don't get me wrong. Like people drop out, which
I feel like it's a pretty important thing though. Like you're saying, like if you got some inmate that's locked in a cell,
and
you spray him through the door. I don't know if that's a thing, a policy or not.
Yeah.
You have to go in and get them. Are you guys masked up, or are you just going in?
If it's a planned extraction, yeah, we're masked up. But if it's not, then you just do what you got to do. And like I said, we can get into those stories as well.
Oh, we're going to get into those stories.
Yeah, it's there was some, I don't know. We'll get into that.
All right, so
anyway, yeah, we graduate. Do the graduation at the state capitol, which was pretty cool. And I feel like it really does legitimize the department, because there's a lot of states that corrections officers aren't, peace officers, you know what I mean? So it's like, it legitimizes it, they do the whole ceremony. So it is really cool. And you do build a bond with people, and there was people that I thought on day one, I'm like, no way in hell. And they ended up being one of the strongest people towards the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it was really a humbling experience. The camaraderie was cool. But yeah, so then I, become an officer, get my badge, all that stuff. And I actually start, at the Boise complex, there's 5 different facilities. There's the women's prison, there's the minimum prison, there's the yard, which it carries basically all 3. Then you have ISCC, which it used to be a private prison, but then Department of Corrections bought it. And then you have IMSI, Idaho Maximum Security Institution. So when I first started, I went to the yard, which carried, all 3 levels. But my FTO was in basically the ADSEG, the max unit. So I spent really the first 6 months in max. Like that's,
fresh meat. You went straight to max.
Yep.
So you're dealing with murders, rape, the worst of the worst.
All these ADSEG guys are just, they're locked down. There's some guys that are there for, years, and there's some guys that are there just because they got in a fight on the, on the field. So, but yeah, it was basically.
Oh, so if they get in a fight in jail, is this jail or prison?
It's prison. So it's basically the prison for the prison. So, so I basically spent all my time there, for the first few months. And then, right as I was so the FTO program is supposed to be a year.
FTO is field training officer?
Field training officer, yep. So it's supposed to be a year. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything, but I had finished it within 6 or 7 months. And, it was. So
they write off on you and say you're good to go?
Yeah. So your FTO would be like, yeah, he's solid. Then you go to your sergeant, and then the shift command lieutenant will be like, yep, he's solid, blah, blah, blah. So they released me. Well, at that point, Idaho Maximum Security Institution, which is right next door, was like, hey, we need officers. So I started talking to different people and like, hey, what's it like over there? Because I did build a relationship with, different officers where I was at. And we had a good crew that I worked with. But everyone's like, the Idaho IMSI is, a fraction of the size of the yard. And so there's a lot less officers, a lot less offenders, but everybody there is in max, you know what I mean?
What is max exactly?
So you've got custody levels, right? You have your minimum guys. Okay. So those can be all the way from, a guy's 3rd DUI, he gets sentenced to 6 months, and he, he's minimum risk, right? And then your medium guys,
non-violent people,
technically. For the most part, non-violent. Okay. There is politics at that, at that level where guys, they think they're, they want to do the gangbang stuff, and which is generally what leads them to going higher up in the classification. So then your minimum guys are, really it's kind of the middle of the road. I mean, you've got guys that are just trying to do their thing and get out. But then you also have the guys that, are young. They're the crime that they came in on, because Idaho does it where it's all in a point system. So whatever crimes you've done gives you a certain level of points. And then, when you get sentenced, depending on your amount of points, that's what custody level you go to when you get sent to prison. So you'll sit in county, fight your cases. Once you get convicted, all your stuff, you'll get it's a point system. For conversations purposes, anything less than 10 points is minimum. 10 to 20 points is, medium, and then above that is max, right?
What's like an assault charge catch you? How many points?
There's a bunch of variables to that too. It all
is it easy to rack up points?
Very easy.
Okay.
Very easy to rack up points. And that's also what I think is wrong with and we can get into that too, where I think a lot of the corruption, because Idaho likes to pride themselves in the recidivism, and, we do all these things inside the facilities to, help these guys to reintegrate back into society. It's like, no, you don't. You say you do.
Do they say that for funding?
Yeah, it's all a funding thing. Okay. And they say it for the press. They say it for, and they'll even tell you, but then, so you'll have admin who hasn't even stepped foot inside of a prison in 20 years sit here and tell you about this new initiative they want, implemented. But I'm like, okay, it looks good on paper, but if you go down to these units and it's not going to work. It doesn't make sense. If we had double the officers, it would make sense, but we didn't. We would run, 200, 300 person units with 4 guys. dude, you're outnumbered all the time. So, okay, so I get to max. So I end up talking to a bunch of people and I'm like, you know what? I want to go to max. Go ahead.
On the scale of minimum to maximum in all the facilities, what's the best? What's the worst to work?
Oh, dude. Well, it depends on where you're at in your career. If you're early 20s, mid 20s, you like the violence, you like the fights, you like, all that stuff, go to max.
So you're going hands on 100% guaranteed.
Dude, there was times, I forgot the exact number, but it was like 20 something days in a row. I went home covered in OC because of like mass riots and fights and gang fights and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so
I can see that.
If you like that stuff and you want to be in it, go to max.
Okay.
If you just want to
ride your time,
get your paycheck, do your thing, go to minimum. Dude, there's even, so, in prisons, you got to do tier checks, basically officers walk around the units and check. Dude, there was times I would do overtime at the minimum facility. And, even just our uniforms at max were different. Like we had the full, the chest, rigs with all the stuff. So we, had the leg, pouches and mounts for our OC spray.
Yeah.
Most of the officers don't even carry OC spray at the minimum side.
Are you wearing that uniform on your OT overtime?
Yeah. So I would go
so
from
you're
there
walking,
over there.
okay.
They're everybody knows you're from max because of what you're wearing.
So they don't fuck with you or what?
Nobody really fucks with you at the minimum level.
Okay.
There are some punk ass kids, but like they'll definitely, like, if it were to come down to it and they know that you're from max, like they won't try to pull the shenanigans they're going to do. They'll kind of, you're doing your tier check and they're just kind of, okay, keep going type of thing, where, a minimum security officer comes walking in and they're, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do this? Blah, blah, blah. And they're killing them with questions. Right. So, which I quickly learned, like after like 4 years of being there, that I'm like, I was getting over the whole max thing, and I'm like, dude, maybe I'll just transfer to a minimum facility. We make the same amount of money, and
way less risk.
Way less. Dude, there's times that trustees, which are offenders, are doing tier checks for the officers. Like they're going like, oh, I'll go check tier 1 for you. And so these trustees will go out there, they'll pass out laundry to the tier, and they'll come back and be like, yep, everything's good, and the officer will mark it down. And I'm like,
wait,
this
is in max or minimum?
No, this is a minimum. Yeah, so I get it.
I still can't justify that, but I get it, I guess.
Yeah. And like I said, most people there are just trying to do their time and go home. Like they've got a softball team. They do like offenders versus officers, softball and kickball. And so it's like a way different. Yeah. And honestly, it was
wait.
Yeah.
How long are these minimum guys in there? Long enough to have a softball team?
It depends. There's lifers that have been, down for so long and have stayed out of trouble because your points can drop too if you have good time. So as long as you don't have you're not a violent person, like you don't have like a violent charge or like gang.
So you have lifers in minimum.
Yeah, there's lifers in there.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
They do their thing. Now
that's who would be your trustee technically.
There's in a way a lot of guys like that. Yeah, they just guys that they call it DOR, disciplinary offense report. And so when guys get in trouble in the facilities, they get DORs, and it's basically like writing them a ticket, right?
Okay.
And that will give them more points. So if these guys stay DOR free for 5 years or 10 years or whatever, then their points start going down.
How hard is it to stay DOR free?
Very difficult.
I feel like in prison you have to get sucked into something.
So and that all changes with the levels, right? So at minimum, very easy. You just mind your business, do your thing. You're gonna have shitheads, but the thing is those shitheads usually end up doing something to get them more points, and they get taken
filtered
off
out.
Yep.
Okay.
So then guys just do their thing. You get to the medium side, and that's really you've got your guys, you got your work unit guys that work the kitchens, that work the rec yards. That, they do their thing, and then you have the gangbangers, that's usually the young bloods that came in on, a robbery charge or something. And they got, 2 or 3 years that they're doing, but they come in, they're 19, 20 years old, they're impressionable, and they're like the hitman, right? So any of the, the work that needs to be done, they send these guys out to go do it. So these guys will turn a 3-year sentence, go beat up a sex offender or go beat somebody up, stab someone, and then they'll get 15 years and sent to max, and they're like, "Yeah, look at me," because they think
proud
it's cool.
of that.
Yeah, because that's the mentality that they've bred in there, right? And
it's so wild to me that they would just add on time like that.
There was guys, younger than me or even older than me that I'm like looking at. I'm like, dude, because I can look up any offender, I can look at their family history, I can look up all their stuff, and I'm like, you're not a bad person, like. A lot of them were like drug, they got caught with heroin or meth or something, and Idaho is really hard on drugs. And so they would, they had a few drug charges. So they got, 5 years. And so now you take this 20-year-old kid that has really a drug problem, throw him in a sea of sharks at a, medium facility.
It's just a feeding frenzy.
And you're creating more gang members. You're creating, because at the end of the day, they have two choices. They can either basically go into protective custody
or conform to the prison.
Or conform. And it's like, you're going to fight, you're going to do this stuff. If you don't, then you're going to get removed. And so it's like,
removed as in how? Like
the gangs will remove, like, you and I being white, let's say we get locked up, we go to the yard, we're in classification at the yard. And obviously, you're a big dude. The white guys can look at you and be like, hey, we want this guy. The next, shuttle of inmates will come in, and they'll be like some like snitch will come in. So someone from the yard will be like, hey, I know that guy from my neighborhood. He's a snitch. And they'll say, Brian, go get him. And you're either going to go get him or you're going to say no. And the next thing you know, someone's going to be coming after you. So someone's going to do it. And it doesn't matter who. And it goes all the way from just beating somebody up to full blown knives and, yeah, I've been part of riots. I've been part of, I watched a dude's head get bashed in with a microwave, like crazy stuff.
How does this help? How does this help? How does a guy that goes in on, let's say, a heroin charge, right?
Yep.
What's a heroin charge catch you? I mean, obviously it depends on grams and all that shit. You get caught out. What's an average?
Years.
Say you get 2 years.
Yeah, so you get 2 years.
And I walk in there with a 2-year charge.
Yep.
And I get picked up by the Aryan boys real quick.
Yep.
And I got to go do something tonight. Now I just added 6 more years to my sentence.
Well, and it also depends too. So in Idaho, sex offenders are protected. So let's say it's not even a rival gang thing. Let's say classification puts someone with a bad charge in your unit and they find out and go, wait, this guy's paperwork, because in Idaho, you can have like a rape and then you plead it down to, what is it? I think it's considered an assault. So
do they find that out?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it'll show like,
how are they finding this out? Are officers like, oops, and drop like somebody's
For sure. Officers are doing it and they're calling their people.
I would if there was some child molest or some dude that raped some chick, I would be like, oh, there's this file. Like,
it's and there's ways that, it's hard because like there was many times that I'm like, I knew what this guy's charge was, but like I had a set of integrity that I'm like, look, do I agree with it? No, but I'm not here to, and the way I looked at it is they're going to find out.
No matter what.
No matter what, they are going to find out. And so it's just a matter of time. And it's like, I don't want to be able, because when those things happen, like the investigations that go into it and that go into, how these people found out, like you are on audio and video at all times throughout that prison. And so which is crazy to me because like how many officers get caught bringing in drugs and cell phones and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you guys are under a microscope all the time.
Still risk it, huh?
I know. And in Idaho, especially if you're a corrections officer and you bring in drugs, bring in cell phones or, any of that kind of stuff, they make an example of you.
Is it worth the money?
Depends on how much you need it, right?
I mean, like what's a cell phone going to run me if I sneak a cell phone in the prison for?
So if you wanted like not even an iPhone, just like an
old flip phone.
Yeah, old flip phone, it's going to like $1,200. No,
not worth it.
No. But if you bring 5 of them in,
yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean? And then especially iPhones, like, dude, and it's not just that, it's Suboxone was a big one. So basically people would let's say, one of the gang guys on the tier would get their people to reach out to someone that and they would drop you off, a stack of Suboxone strips, and then you bring it in with you to work and you give it to those guys and they're 5, 10, 15 grand. Because at one sheet of Suboxone could make, 10 squares, and each square was $100. That's what they would sell it for.
Shit.
So one strip is $1,000, and these guys would have stacks. I don't know if you've ever seen what a Suboxone strip looks like. It's like a Listerine strip.
Okay.
It's just orange. And so imagine one of those cut up.
What do they use Suboxone for?
So Suboxone is it's an opiate. It's supposed to it basically, if you're not a current user, it can get you high. But if you are a current user, it basically shuts off the receptors in your body so you like can't get high anymore. So they use it to like detox, but it's now come out that Suboxone is just as addictive, and it's actually harder to get off than like oxys and
No
heroin.
shit.
Dude, Suboxone is no joke to come off of. I'm talking like you go from withdrawal with, heroin is, a week or two of like the bad stuff to Suboxone is like 3 to 6 months. Suboxone's no joke.
Okay, let's jump back into Max. I want Max stories, but then I want to know what it's like when dudes are kicking heroin in there.
Yeah, so more often than not, by the time they get to prison, they've already withdrawn because a lot of the cases they sit in county for a year or whatever.
Okay.
But there is so many drugs in the prison, so ironically, the natives are huge with the drugs. Like they're really the ones because they have the money and the connections.
Really?
They're the ones that are basically kind of not fronting, but bringing in a lot of the stuff. They're financing it, they're backing it. So you'll know like when a heroin drop comes in or something like that because you'll start having people withdrawing. A week later, they'll be able to obviously they get the heroin distributed out to everybody, and you'll go through phases where people will start acting weird. You won't see them come out of their cell, and you're there must have been a drug drop, type of thing.
And it's the natives.
Natives are a big one behind it. So there's basically 4 main gangs in Idaho. So you've got your AKs, which is your Aryan Knights, which is essentially the Aryan Brotherhood, but they're not recognized on a national level.
Okay.
You have your Norteños, your Sureños, and then SVC. So SVC is a predominantly white gang that was tired of the racist stuff that the Aryan Knights were pushing. They weren't all about the Nazi stuff, but they're like, look, we're white. We just aren't down with that kind of stuff. So they started SVC, which is severely violent criminals. And so
no shit, that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
Now they're a mixed gang, like a mixed race gang, or you said they're
yeah. I mean, there's not really like African American people, but I mean, there's like half Hispanic and white. I mean, it's predominantly white, but they're just not racist.
Who does Samoas roll with?
That it all depends. That's the other thing too. Idaho's weird, man. Like you've got white Norteños and black Sureños, and you've got really the only gang that is like pure white would be the Aryan Nation,
really?
Aryan brother, or was it Aryan Knights?
No shit.
Yeah, it's odd. It didn't make, especially coming from California, like it didn't make sense to me.
There's lines that are drawn.
Yeah, and it's very strict. Like you don't even break bread with somebody. You don't sit at the same table. They have their own showers. It's like that's not the case in Idaho.
Really?
Yeah. So when I first started, I would say the Aryan Knights probably had the largest numbers in all the facilities. Like they really held, a lot of the power. And then I would say by like 2017-ish, the Sureños were drastically larger. They had more numbers than anybody. And they were just growing and growing. And a lot of it was, a lot of drug trafficking that was happening, between Idaho and all the states. And these guys were getting picked up. And you had guys that were, topping out their time in California, and then coming to Idaho for charges they caught, 20 years ago in Idaho. So
these dudes are getting out of prison in California and then coming straight here to do their time here.
Yep. And then Idaho's got some time for them or whatever. So,
oh my God.
So I watched the population from like 2014, 2015 to like 2018, 2019, like right before I left was, staff assaults when I first started, staff assaults were like once a year, if that. Like there hadn't been like a major staff assault in like 2 years, I think, or 3 years.
Really?
When I left, not only had I been part of like 4 or 5 staff assaults, but when I left, there's people being assaulted like almost monthly, if not quarterly. Like the gangs got a lot harder. We were super short staffed. They were taking full advantage. Idaho changed the rule to hire from 21 down to 18. So then you've got
You're hiring 18-year-old kids to work, and these kids are going to max?
Yep. And they're going to max. They're just going where they need them.
They're putting 18-year-old kids in the system to guard these life career criminals.
Yeah.
How did that go over?
Not good. That's the amount of disrespect because the level.
It's a child.
It's a child. Yeah. They're legally 18. They're legally an adult, but they have no life experience. So how are you going to take someone that has 0 life experience and have them, tell someone who's, already been down for 25 years, has got multiple life sentences. Do you think that person's going to care what this 18-year-old says?
Growing up in the streets.
Yeah.
And then you have some kid from
nothing
Idaho.
to relate to, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and I think that's why, kind of a side thing. I think that's why my time there was so, I don't want to say I was like respected by the inmates, but I had a common like ground with a lot of the inmates because I was honest with them. I was like, look, I get this Velcro badge is a Velcro badge. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. The only difference between me and a lot of those people is I didn't get caught for the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
You know, like there was guys doing, 2, 3 to 5 years on stuff that was, I had done way worse. I just didn't get caught. You know what I mean? So I'm like, dude, I'm no better than these guys. Mm-hmm. And I just really feel like that's how I led my time there was, obviously give respect where respect's due.
For sure.
But yeah, I just treated them, unless they were sex offenders, and they're just garbages. I didn't really care.
100%.
Anyway that hurt kids. And dude, even like gang dropouts, the amount of people I helped, like drop out of their gangs. Cause dude, I mean, we can get into that too, but, I talked about it on that other podcast. A lot of these guys, again, like this guy, Chad, that I talked about in the other podcast, dude, he had a drug charge and he turned a couple of years into 15 years because of gang stuff. He ended up, growing through the ranks and doing the stuff that he was doing. Turned into, so he did 10 years straight before he got out. They gave him nothing, no benefit, nothing. They basically said, okay, you're going out to the real world, checking with your PO and blah, blah, blah. Obviously the dude, he went in when he was 18, gets out when he was like 29, and obviously goes right back to doing drugs, stuff like that, goes back for a year. He's been out now for, I think, 2 or 3 years, and he's doing really good. But there's people that you can see that aren't bad people. Mm-hmm. They made a mistake. Mm-hmm. They just, the system fails them. And it really, you see it all over the news. And I'm sure, I can just speak for Idaho, but I'm sure all over the country, they have the same issues. I really made it a mission, because I started telling these guys, like, I understand, the protection you want or the gang stuff, like, you want to feel, because a lot of them just want to feel part of something and, whatever. And a lot of them didn't have a chance. Like Chad with his drug charges, like that instantly put him at a higher level, and so he's an 18-year-old kid with, heroin charges. And now he's got gang, people basically saying, hey, you're going to do this or we're going to get you. So then he starts putting in the work to not get beat up. And then he starts catching more charges. And it's just, it's a revolving door. And so it's like, you just bred another gang member, and then they classify you as a gang member. And then anything you do beyond that, you have a gang enhancement on top of the other charge that you're getting. So if you and I aren't in a gang and we fight, it's mutual combat. We both go to the hole. It is what it is. If you're with SVC and I'm with the AKs and we fight, it's now we have gang related, and
on top of the assault charge,
of the other assault charge. And so then that carries more points and more time and things like that. So, and then if you beat up a sex offender, it's considered a hate crime. And I want to say it's like a mandatory 5 years if you're convicted of a hate crime.
Wait.
Yeah. I could be wrong on that law.
You beat up a sex offender and that's considered a hate crime.
Yep. They're protected in the state of Idaho.
Why? At all fucking states. I thought we had our shit together like that.
Dude.
It should be free reign.
They call it a rider program. I don't know if you've heard of that. So it's basically guys that have, been in county, gotten out, kind of had an issue. Well, the rider program is essentially set up. It's like 6 or 9 months where you get this program, you go to prison, but you're in a separate part of the prison and you do your 6 or 9 months, but you live as a prison inmate, not as like a jail person. Okay. So they call it a rider. It's basically, this is like your last stop before you catch big time. You know, they will give sex offenders 3, 4, 5 different chances in this program because they feel they can be rehabilitated.
No.
But then they'll take a first time heroin addict or, drug abuser and send them right to, medium or max because of the points it carries.
How is it?
It makes it, and then now imagine yourself being in that position as an officer, trying to, it's not like you're a role model, but you want to be a consistent person, a firm, fair, and consistent, right? Absolutely. You want to, it's not like I walked around going, hey, you guys need to be like me, but just being, a lot of these guys have never had like someone who's been in their life that's been consistent. So it's like, if you're just there and you kind of help them work through their stuff and just
not an asshole.
Yeah. Just not an asshole. Like it goes a long way. And the amount of people that have gotten out of prison that I've run into with my wife, by myself, like, I've never had to worry, like, is this guy going to come after me type of thing? Because I just treated people with respect. Like, hey, it is what it is. And
it's crazy how that works.
Dude, people will come up and, they'll introduce me to their wives and their kids. And, if Ashton's with me, I'm like, oh, this is my wife, blah, blah, blah. And I made it a point that that's what I was doing because I saw how corrupt the system was. And I don't think it's any one individual person that's corrupt. I think what it is people going with the right intentions, but in order to promote, in order to, for funding and all these different things, just like politics, right? They get jaded and all these things happen. And now they're grouped in, and what they came in to initially do, they're now causing the problem. And then they get into these levels of power where you think they're going to change it, but then they have so much pressure from their, once they get out of, like, it's just like, leaving from enlisted to officer, right?
Yeah.
Like once you leave that enlisted side, you're going to, now you want to grow that chain of command, right? So you're going to start taking the pressure from up there. Same thing. It's like
but just, I feel like this whole correctional facility, our correctional system, you always hear about it. It's so broken. It's so broken.
Yeah.
And then talking to you, I was like, none of this makes sense. Like,
No.
why? So you mean to tell me we'll take a sex offender that's molested some child and they get 3, 4, 5 strikes in this easy program?
Yep.
Then you take a kid that gets his first drug charge and they throw him in the prison, mid or max.
Yeah.
And he's automatically, how do you survive without being part of a gang?
You don't.
So now they're forcing this kid,
Yep.
first time charge,
Yep.
gets sucked into a group.
Yep.
What do you class gangs, groups?
Yeah. They're gangs.
Gangs.
Essentially.
And then now he's going to have to carry out something in order to obviously be accepted in this. So, like,
It's crazy when you and that's the thing. It's the definition of insanity, right? So and unless you basically instantly go to minimum, there's not really that many politics in minimum, but yeah, you put these guys in and you say, hey, keep your head down. Don't do anything stupid. Well, it's almost like administration, just because they think that stuff isn't happening. Dude, officers don't run that prison. The inmates run that prison.
Right?
The only reason why I left every day was because they let us. At the end of the day, we were outnumbered, especially at max, was it 16-1 in the max unit, at least every day, and so it's like,
this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And it's hard to rationalize.
Is it funding?
It's funding, it's politics, it's, patting someone's back, to gain, to promote, to do all these different things. Again, I don't know how it works at, the governor level and things like that. Obviously I never, got that high, but, yeah, it's all funding. They tell you they want to do all this initiative to help people get in or to get out of prison, but then they also want the fights and they want the stuff to happen so that they can get the funding and the extra, their emergency funds and things like that to, pay officers better or to grow or
get
to
better gear, all that stuff.
So it's like,
because if you're not having riots and all these breakouts, then why would you get funding for all the cool fancy gear?
It sounds like you guys got everything under control. Why do you need more? So it's like,
this is fascinating, man.
Yeah. So it's, so I get to max.
Yeah.
And it's a much, much tighter knit group.
Okay.
I felt like
as far as officers or inmates,
both, but on the officer side. So I feel like at the yard, it was very cliquey in the officers, everybody, if you worked in your unit, that was you kind of hung out with those people, blah, blah, blah. But people bounce around units a lot there. We're at max. You had so you had close custody GP, which is basically your max level, but they're allowed to come out of their cells. So they come out 16 at a time, 8 cells at a time. So your closed custody general population.
For how long?
It depends on the day. They'll come out for day room for 2 hours, and then they'll go to the yard, and then they'll
the yard's outside or
the
courtyard.
So
area.
In max, they've got it's like cages.
Okay.
So they've got I've got videos I can send you from what a fight looks like or what the yard looks like at max. I
want to see them.
So it's there'll be a baseball diamond, and they can be in that area or whatever.
Okay.
So it's very interesting when you think about it. So I only ever worked close custody GP, which is your gang unit. Okay. So that was, you had 4. So it was called G block when I was there. So there was 6 tiers. Okay. So
what's a tier?
So your center. Okay. So you have your control center in the middle, right? And this is just for G block. You've got a main control.
So your control center is the vaulted, your middle vault that has all the glass around it and all the opens buttons, and closes all doors and everything.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you've got one person, and that's running control or running pod. So you have that person. So from there, you've got the entrance coming into the unit. Once you get to the pod, there's a courtyard or a little hallway that wraps around that and then branches off each tier. So there's, I think it's 6 tiers in G block. So each tier has 4 walks. So each walk is 8 cells at a time. So there's 16 cells at the bottom, 16 cells at the top, and they come out in like walk 1, walk 2, walk 3, walk 4. Okay. So
those 16, you said you guys were outnumbered 16 to 1. So they're letting out 16 maximum.
Yep.
Maximum max gang members to 1 guard.
Yep. To 1 officer, that because essentially you'd have your pod officer, the guy that's running all the controls, and you'd have maybe 3 or 4 floor officers that are basically, walking the tiers, doing stuff, running, chow, because they can't go down to the chow hall because they're max custody. So the food comes to them. So they're fed in their cells.
So how long are they in their cells a day?
Again, it all depends on the day, but they'll get like 2 hours yard time. They'll get like an hour and 45 minutes day room time. And then they'll get like an hour in the rec yard.
So you're talking 20 hours locked in a cell.
For the most part. Yeah. And heaven forbid there's a fight or something happens, then they lock the whole unit down, and they'll go days like that. They'll go 3, 4. I mean, I think the longest lockdown I was part of was like 3 or 4 weeks. And that was after the Norteño Sereno riot that kicked off. We had like 40 something people fighting at one time. Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be pretty intense.
Dude, I'll never forget it. So
how does this?
And actually, so let me step back real quick. So when I was talking about G block, that was at ISCC. I'm sorry. So that was when I worked at ISCC. So that was the max. So you have max IMSI, and they were overflowed, and so they had a max unit at ISCC. So I'm sorry, G block that's how those tiers were. At max, you just had 3 tiers. You had, so it was A block. It was A1, A2. I mean, same layout where you had 8 cells, but it was A1, A2, A3.
That's it.
And that was it. And so if you want to hear that was probably, I would say, the gnarliest and scariest thing like I was part of there.
Because obviously this is building up. Like these guys are planning a riot, right? Like riots just don't happen, or do they?
No, it doesn't just, and that's the thing. So as the population, grew in Idaho and things got harder, right? You started getting those people from California and Texas and these larger states. Well, you're starting to get shot callers now coming in that are now integrating into our local gangs.
So you're getting players.
Exactly. So you're getting it at a national level.
This isn't some gangbanger from CUNA.
No.
This is...
And that's where administration, I think, failed to understand is all these people that were making these decisions were running these prisons in the 80s back when it was just Caldwell and, gangbangers from CUNA type of thing. Now we have international stuff. Like one of the lead AK guys is named Harlan Hale. He's never getting out of prison. He did, 25 years already at, was it San Quentin?
Oh.
And then came here.
This is like a walk in the park for him.
Yeah, and was running the white boys, the AKs here. So you have that level of offender with his knowledge and experience.
Being treated in the 1980s style prison.
Exactly.
And they're not evolving to this.
No, and that's what I'm saying. So these people are making these decisions downtown are telling us how to operate these units. They haven't stepped foot in 20 years.
So you're getting a dude that has spent half his life at San Quentin, like
hard stuff,
locked down, walking into our prisons here, and they're probably just picking it apart. This is going to be a field day for them.
So they walk in and they don't put in work. As soon as they see that as soon as the other inmates see like, oh, this guy came from California, they'll check his paperwork. I've seen guys literally walk in first day and already have the keys to either the tier or the unit for whatever race they're from because of who they were. And
what do you mean the keys?
So like when they call it like, having the keys, it's like you own that unit. You're the shot caller. You're the
first day stepping in.
They'll run their paperwork and, within that week, once they get all the information
they find
back,
the paperwork,
and they're like, oh, this dude's legit. Then all of a sudden he now runs everything. And so now you have this guy, and then he's got the drug trade. He's got all the other stuff that he's working. So it's not just Idaho anymore.
Because he's bringing all his connections and these
guys they're still corresponding. So this whole Norteño Sereno thing that happened came from, I think it was California or Texas, was sent down from, I think it was the Sereno side was sent down that everything was supposed to erupt at this time. That's how blind like administration and like I said, maybe administration just, they're not that blind. They just won't tell us that they're that blind, but like,
why admit it?
Yeah. Why won't exactly. They won't admit it. But it's like these things happen. We kind of knew something was going to happen that day. So the months leading up, and we had a couple fights here and there. Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. It was like over sports betting or someone owed someone a soup or something like that. And they smack each other around. Right.
Okay.
So, we're sitting there. We had just taken, so for instance, like when when walk one would come out to the day, they would go out to the ball field. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, while they're out there, then walk two would come out to the day room.
So these guys are never crossing paths.
They're not crossing. So walks never cross. When they do cross, that's not good. So that's some of the other big rights.
These walks, are you breaking them into gangs, or are gangs in all different walks?
No, so gangs are in all different walks. So that's Idaho also saying, well, we're not going to allow them to run our prison. We're going to...
But they're running the prison.
Exactly.
Would it be safer if you put the whole gang in walk A1 and then the white boys in A2?
You would think so. I mean, that was kind of always my thought. Like, I never understood why they were like, oh, well, we're not going to, because if we give them the numbers, then they'll be more powerful. And it's like, they won't be any more powerful than the 16 people they have right here. If you just keep them all together,
it's only 16.
You start separating them around everywhere else.
But instead they're mixing them. So they're just stirring the pot.
Exactly. And then you got, rivals that maybe they're not rivals now, but some gang, some dude over here owes money to this guy over here.
This is fascinating,
dude. It
goes this deep.
It's very deep. So, and I can look up the date and send it to you too, with all like the new stuff on this, which was crazy too, because this made news all around here. I actually think it made national news too, but they classified it as a disturbance at the facilities. So we're sitting there. I don't know. I just gotten on. We were on shift for maybe a couple hours, and this was like before. So I was on the response team at this point, and then one of the guys that was working with me, Jake, he was on the CERT team.
Your response team is like a tactical team?
Yeah. So that's like so you have your A team and your B team. Your A team is your emergency response. So like if a fight happens anywhere in the prison, that's the officer that bolts and goes.
Okay.
The B team is your extraction team. So Alpha response gets sent out. If it's bigger than what they can handle, then they call in Bravo response, and Bravo response will come in and do like the extractions and stuff like that. So I was on either team a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And a lot of times it got to a point where I was like the team lead on the Alpha response team, which was responding to the fights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was one of those, I mean, I told you it was like 20 something, however many days in a row. It's because I was dealing with that. So it's a couple hours into shift. And mind you, like leading up to this, like I would say for about a month, like nothing had happened. Everybody was
quiet.
Kumbaya. It was very.
Is that eerie to you, or are you guys like, oh, cool, this is
anything
nice?
More than like 2 or 3 weeks? It starts to get eerie. Like, because big things will happen, and then they'll go on lockdown for a week or whatever, and then they'll come off lockdown, and nobody wants to do anything because they just got off lockdown. So then everybody's on like their best behavior. I mean, I'm sure they're still running stuff, but they just don't. So you'll have these like bits, right? So it had been like eerily quiet, like nothing crazy. Like I said, a couple of fights here and there, nothing wild, nothing gang related. So we were taking one of the walks out to the rec yard. So we take them out to the rec yard. There's this, this hallway that's got, locked doors on either end. You put them on the wall, you pat them all down for weapons, knives, all that kind of stuff. People get, officers get complacent.
For sure.
Everybody does it. They don't check correctly and all that stuff. Because looking back on it, we could have found this way earlier. So everybody gets patted down. They're like, cool, we're sending them to the rec yard. So as they're sending them to the rec yard, this Hispanic kid, I'm like standing there watching them all leave, because once they left, then I was going to go back out onto the tier and let the next walk out for day room. Mm-hmm. So they're leaving. As soon as, the door closes, I'm like, hey, go. And the guy's like, he's like, nah, like I'm not going. So the door closes. And so now I'm just me and him in this hallway. And he's like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, is the sergeant around? And I'm like, yeah, what's up, dude? And he's like, I just don't want to go to the rec yard. I'm just gonna go back to my cell. And I'm like, it's not an option. Like you either go or you don't,
For as an officer and be honest, is this an instant red flag, or are you just answering his questions? Like the fact that an inmate doesn't want to go to the yard after being locked up for 19 hours, is this like a why, or are you just like,
it depends on the person.
Okay.
That's a big thing, especially when A Block was all like the gang unit, like knowing, those inmates that were in there was huge because you could see stuff. And this dude, some days he would go to rec, some days he wouldn't.
Okay.
He wasn't like a ranked, high ranking gang member. He just, he was like, yeah, I just don't want to go. So I was like, okay, but I was like, we already let day room out. I was like, so I got to go put those other guys away now to let you back in your cell, because I can't mix you with that. And he was like, no, it's cool. I'll just hang out we had holding cells in the foyer area.
He's like, lock me in there.
Yeah, he's like, just throw me in there. And I was like, that's where the red flag went. So I called my sergeant. He wasn't in the unit at the time, but he just happened to be the head of the sergeant of investigations at that time. So I was like, hey, I think it was Sergeant Novotny. I was like, hey, it's got a guy down here. Like, he refused to go to rec, says he wants to talk to you. And he was like, okay. He's like, I'll be down there in a little bit. So Novotny comes down. He's in the single cell talking with this dude. And so at this point, I'm now up in the control center. Okay. I'm sitting down. We got rec out, got day room out. At that point, it's chow time for us. Like, we have a break. Those guys are out. We can get some food and get water, whatever, before we start doing everything else. So I'm sitting there with Jake, and I see the sergeant talking to the guy in the holding cell. Well, you could see him kind of get kind of hurried type of thing, And so he locks the guy down. And as soon as that happens, I'm sitting there, and Jake goes flying out of his chair. And we're sitting kind of in chairs like these, facing the tiers. And Jake was flying out of his chairs, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and Jake goes, holy shit, we have a fight. And I was like, I saw that there was a microwave that went flying across, someone yeeted a microwave.
Okay.
So I was like, holy shit. So I stand up, I look on the tier, and mind you, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 all have a walkout, right? Okay. And there's guys out on the rec yard, and there's guys out on the ball field, all max, custody guys. So I look at tier 1, and there's, I don't know, 12, 14 people going at it. Okay.
So you have a mixture of all 3-4 gangs. So are they just fighting the fight at this point, or do they pick sides?
No. So this was all coordinated. This all came from out of state. So this was the Sereños and the Norteños. Something had happened where a Norteño had done something to a Sereño at a high leadership above Idaho.
Okay.
And it was basically retribution. I think you killed him or something. There was a hit done or whatever. So basically,
non-Idaho related.
From my understanding, it was not Idaho related.
Okay.
But so anyways, and like I said, I could be wrong. I have to check. I don't remember the actual findings of it, but I remember because it kicked off in California too. There was this whole thing. So
multiple prisons are fighting.
We're going off. Yeah.
Okay.
So at this point, I don't know that. I just think our unit's fighting. So I'm looking down, and I'm like, holy shit. There's a full fight going. And this isn't just a 2-on-1 type of thing. This is dudes have shirts tied over their face. They've got, bandanas on, all their stuff. They're geared up, ready for war. They've got shanks. They got everything. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm calling on the radio. I'm like, break. I was like, I need Alpha and Bravo response team.
Yeah.
I was already on Alpha, so I was there. Jake was the CERT team. I was like, we have a mass fight in A1. And so when you click on there's a computer here that's got all the cells and all the stuff, and you can click on the cameras to see them. So normally when you call a response team, there's going to be officers coming from different areas. So you want to have one of the cameras up that shows the hallway to let people in, right?
Yep.
And so as I click that camera, all of a sudden I see the rec yard, and then I see tier 2, and it's just mass fights everywhere. And these dudes are geared up, all the Sereños, they've got weapons, they've got stuff over their face so you can't OC them. They've got gloves on, they've got, everything. And I'm talking, dude, there's blood everywhere. And that's when I look down on the tier, and I'm calling all this, and bless her heart, there's this new girl. It was her second week that was running the pod control.
Okay.
And she's just had no idea, and I don't blame her. That's a lot going on. So I'm looking down, and this dude is bashing another guy's head in with a microwave so hard. So the door came off, and he grabbed the rest of it and just kept going, started bashing the dude's head in with the microwave. So I'm calling for response, and I get on the radio. I was like, dude, I need lethal, less lethal, all this stuff. And I don't know who it was, came over the radio, was like, that's not your decision to make. I'm like, look at the fucking cameras. And that's all I said over the radio. I ended up getting in trouble for it later.
No shit.
Yeah, I think it was the warden or deputy warden or somebody. But I'm like, how are you going to tell me what I do or don't need when I'm watching this? So then all this stuff's activating. We're getting people in. I think the CERT team gets activated, which takes a while because all the CERT guys are at different
And they got to go get their gear.
They got to gear up. And mind you, all this stuff's going. So
what's a long time? Is this like 20 minutes, 5 minutes? I mean, because a fight, I mean.
So from the time that we got the response teams, because like so central control, so you have your unit control, which is where I was at. Then you have your central control that can see the whole prison. Once central control can see everything. They can override you on everything. They can do all that. So that job is specifically ran by a couple people. Once they saw the size of everything that was going on, they started having our backs. They were like, dude, like if you have an available officer, send them to A block right now. And then that's when the call came in that ISCC started going off. The yard started going off. Like they basically used IMSI as.
What's IMSI?
Idaho Maximum Security.
Okay,
Idaho Maximum Security Institution as the, because the inmates can hear radio traffic, they can hear stuff. So they used our unit, our facility to kick off this mass riot that, there was, like I said, just in our unit, there was like 40 something people fighting at one time. And it was against the Norteños, which for every 10 Sureños, there was 2 or 3 Norteños.
So these dudes are extremely outnumbered and just getting their shit pushed
getting absolutely rocked. Like one.
Now, what happens if you're not part of either one of these groups?
Dude, so all the white boys and stuff, they just put their shirts over their mouths and just
lay down, or really?
Yeah, they sat in the corner until so as the response team is getting, we have the riot shields. We've got, basically you set a line and you move in one by one. So like you have the shields, you have, guys in the back, called them bulldogs and stuff where the line would open, you grab them, pull them through, then they restrain them, then we move on to the next one. And we're doing OC, we're doing everything, but they're all masked up. So nothing is affecting them, like
how fun is this?
It was very, looking back on it, honestly, cause I got to sit there cause ended up in court and it was this whole big thing. I got to watch a lot of video of it. I'm very proud of how we responded. So by the time our teams got there, we had it under control in like under 7 minutes.
No shit.
Yeah, it was like boom.
I feel like that's an eternity though for 40 dudes
for getting your ass kicked,
locked in a cage, getting your ass whooped. Yeah. But did anybody get killed?
We had 2. The dude with the microwave,
the TV or the microwave.
Yeah, he was like brain dead.
Really?
I think he survived, but I could look this up and send it to you, but I think he ended up getting like gold sealed, where there's so much damage to you that and if you don't have a life sentence, they're like, oh, all right, don't sue us. you're free type of thing. I don't know. Like I said, the logistic, there are so many people involved, dude. I think I worked like almost 48 hours that day. Like I didn't go home cause I was on the response teams, the report writing, then we had to roll up everybody's property and, dude, that was probably the worst.
Were there a lot of weapons, or is it all just fists?
Lots of weapons, a lot of shanks, lock and socks.
Where are they getting locks from?
So when they come from medium and minimum, when you're at the medium and minimum, you get, your cell has a box that you can lock and it's your thing.
Like a little foot locker?
Exactly. So when they come to max, if the property inventory officer or whoever's doing it doesn't catch it, then these guys will, they get their property when they're in a 2-man cell and they've got a padlock now. And so they'll put them in the tube socks, wrap them up.
God,
and do
those, you could do some damage.
Those are brutal. Yeah. So it was the amount of blood, the amount of just people that, 30 minutes before I was talking to, and you couldn't even, there's a lot of them, I couldn't even tell who they were. Their faces were so
that bad.
But yeah, I'm I don't know who this is. And there was so much blood that their names were covered and stuff. I'm like, so we were just dragging people out. It was brutal.
That's wild.
And it was like I said, I had a very good crew that, that we ran. We were just dialed. I said, Jake was on cert. He had already, he's been there, done that. We just had a really good crew. So our team handled business. Everybody did their job, right? But this goes back to when I said earlier about the people that get sprayed with OC that can't, deal with it, blah, blah, blah. There's, a guy, he still works for the department, so I'm not going to, name drop him, but he basically was one of the response guys, not the initial response. He was just like, hey, if you have an available officer, send him type of thing. This guy comes running through, and like I said, mind you, there's OC everywhere. He opens up the tier door, hits it, covers his eyes, and tries to leave the tier as there's fights and we're all in like wrestling matches with these guys. And he like was banging on the door trying to get out because like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I'm like, motherfucker, none of us can breathe, dude. Like,
and all that's on video?
All of it's on video. So then he was mandated for, I forgot how long that he had, his like actual everyday uniform had to have a gas mask. Like he had to go to central control and get a gas mask assigned to him because they're like, if you know, this was the whole point of you going through the OC was during
but
situations.
They failed him at that point.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't blame, I partially blame him, but you know, I do.
I mean, if he bitched out in that moment,
exactly.
for sure. But they should have known he's a bitch prior to that situation.
And they shouldn't, like I said, I feel like that OC point through the academy shouldn't be just a pass or fail. I feel like you should have to do your job. You know what I mean?
For that exact moment.
Exactly. And that's like was one of the big ones where it's like, we were already a man down. Like, I think we were running like 3 or 4 guys as we're, you know, actually we had 2 girls. So there's 2 guys and 2 girls that were on like our team. And so we're already running a man down, and one of the girls is in like a wrestling match with, you know, full-size dude on the ground. She's handling business. And this guy turns in, hits the OC, freaks out, and is like, tries to dip out. And we're like, so yeah, there's lots of that.
That is insane. And then the paperwork.
Yeah.
After that, is that just all day?
Dude, so paperwork and how important it is that you articulate everything and you write it all down exactly how you see it. How, you know, not.
Are you guys wearing body cams or no?
At this point, no. I think they do have cams now, if I'm not mistaken. But we literally sat in a room, like the main responding people sat in a room, and we just watched video after video after video, just so we could all figure out what we were doing. Because I mean, as you know, we're in a combat zone or anything like that. Like shit hits the fan, your brain processes things
100%.
You know, way different than maybe what actually happened, you know? So you wrote your report, got out what you could remember, and then we watched video so that we can make sure things were in chronological order. And, you know, that because we knew this was going to go to court, we knew this, and we wanted people to be held liable.
I mean, okay. So if you let's say you just half-assed your report.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario, they're just not getting more time added on.
Yeah.
In a way.
For the most part. Yeah. I mean, it just won't, their attorneys or public defenders will, you know, just eat it alive and be like, okay, well, this officer said this and this one said this. So, you know, and especially the stuff that isn't on camera, because a lot of those tiers do have like dead zones, you know.
And these guys know where those dead zones are.
Oh, for sure. They know where they are.
Is that where a lot of fights happen?
A lot of them. So it'll be like under stairs or like in the corners, because it's like a pie shape.
Okay.
So you have your control door here, you enter the tier, and then it goes like that. And then it's like, so
there's
like,
nothing behind that.
So then you have your stairs on either side. So you can either be behind the stairs, or you could be in the corners, or even on the front. So where the front door is here, if you start fighting here, there's a window. But mind you, that's on the first floor. The control center's on the second floor.
So they're not even watching.
So yeah, they're the person inside's watching the cameras. They're not watching down below. Can you see it? Yes, but that's not where your eyes are trained to. And your eyes are trained to a camera because you can see 95% of the tier on the camera.
That's insane.
So these guys know it all, you know, and it's like, I think it's negligence on the department and the officer side to underestimate these guys. Like, yes, they might be backwoods, you know, weird dude, you know, whatever, like family issues, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? Like they might not come from the greatest background, but these dudes are institutionalized. Like they've been here long enough. They've been around. Like they're not dumb. They're adapted. They've adapted. They're institutionalized, you know? And so you come in, and that was the big thing that I think, I don't want to say I struggled with, but that I emphasized with people that I would train. Like when I started, you know, helping train new officers and stuff, was like, you need to don't look at it as like a normal person. Like don't approach things with a normal frame of mind. Like you have to think like a convict. You have to think like, you know, and there's nothing but time that can teach you that. I can't sit here and teach you this stuff, you know. You just need to start paying attention to how these guys move, how they operate. They move way differently than, you know, a normal person. Like go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like,
can you, if you're out in public, can you pick somebody out that's
100%. Still,
just by their demeanor,
their tattoos. I mean, just again, working in a gang unit, you just see the plethora of different styles and tattoos and line work and things like that. You'll be sitting like, actually was it yesterday, the day before, I was at Panda Express with my business partner. We're eating, and there was a dude, white dude, he was sleeved up, basically had a shaved head, tattoos up to his neck, and it was all like, it was all single line. You could tell was prison work, but the way he was eating was he's kind of hunched over his food. He's eating, and like he's like constantly checking, eating, looking, and it's like he's sitting there with, I'm assuming, his girlfriend and like kid or something like that. But just the mannerisms that, so I don't know if he had probably just got out. I would imagine just because he's still kind of on that edge of, doesn't trust anybody type of thing. Again, the tattoos, I mean, all the gang related stuff you can see, you can definitely tell a prison tattoo versus a tattoo shop tattoo.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, even like I said, to this day, I run into guys that, I looked over when I was in there, and then I hired one of them. He was really one of my first employees when I started my business. Yeah. It was that guy, Chad, I was telling you about. He was a higher ranking SVC guy. He went in on a drug charge, ended up having some violent stuff and caught more time, and worked his way up and figured, well, hey, if I got to do 15 years, might as well do it. I've got myself in this situation now. So, I'm going to do it to the full extent. And then as he got older, he was like, wow, this isn't the life for me. Like, all these dudes, I'm stuck in a cell with a dude, 23 hours of the day. I kind of want to go home and see my family and be with women and, things like that. And was like, okay, I'm done being a child. I'm ready to go home. And he was my janitor in the unit for probably 6 months. So when everybody was locked away, we would let him out of the cell, and he'd go out there and clean the cell, and the dude worked his ass off. I mean, any tier that he lived on where he was the janitor was always the cleanest. There was never laundry missing. He always had everybody dialed in. Like, he just knew, he was making like 27 cents an hour or something like that.
That is insane.
But he took pride in what he did, and I saw that, and it was kind of funny because I'd already left the department, and it was like maybe 6 months later, I get a message at like 3 a.m. from this guy, Chad. And he's like, I'm high on drugs. I think I'm going to go on the run. Like, I fucked up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa. Okay. Number one, I didn't even know you were out. Number two, going on the run is not going to fix your situation. So I was like, can you just wait around? We'll grab breakfast in the morning and, we'll figure this out. So he was like, yeah, that's cool. So next morning I met him for like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. Took him to the Egg something on State Street, heading into Boise. Was it the Egg Factory? Is that what it's called?
I know. I don't never go.
Anyways, just if you're running State, coming from Star going into Boise, it's on the left-hand side. But yeah, and he's all, dude, his eyes are rolling back. He's all tweaked out. Looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. And I'm like, dude, what you need to do is go check in with your PO. Tell them that you're, what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, right. They're going to send me back. I'm like, they're going to send you back regardless. But if you, go to them first, don't make them come find you.
Why would would it be, obviously, besides being strung out, like, why were they going to send him back regardless?
Because he's considered a violent gang member.
And he's on drugs?
And he's, he didn't serve his full time, so he got paroled. And so it's, it was one of those things where.
Oh, okay. So parole. Okay.
Okay. So they basically look for any reason to send you back, especially because he was considered a violent gang member.
So he went back.
So yeah. So he goes, checks in with his PO, and now I'm involved. So I'm talking with his mom because, like, again, I was freshly out of that prison. I know all the, the ins and outs. So I tell Chad, I'm like, hey, dude, like, in your eyes in the institution right now, not only did they just give you a chance to get out after 10 years, but the first thing you did is when you got high, started hanging out with all your gang buddies. And, I was like, but obviously you don't want to do that because you hit me up at 2 a.m. and we're trying to figure out a way out of this.
How did this dude find you?
On Instagram.
No shit.
Yeah, he literally, and so like I said, I wouldn't say we're friends in the prison, but like we had, he was my janitor. Yeah. So it was like mutual respect. We're similar age. And so, yeah, dude, I was literally scrolling on Instagram and I just got a message request and I clicked and it said Chad Pasquini. And
did your heart stop when you got this or what?
I was confused.
Okay.
Because again, I didn't know that he'd gotten out. Like I knew he had a long sentence, And so, so I basically that happened. So we sit down. So he goes and finally talk him into checking in with his PO. I'm like, look, what are you going to go on the run? They're going to get you at some point and it's going to be way worse. They're going to, send you back for your full time. I was like, or you take responsibility for your actions. You go check in with your PO. you're still probably going to go back, but at least you have a leg to stand on now. And he's like, all right, fine. So he checks in, does everything he's supposed to. Well, his PO doesn't immediately send him back. They basically said, they're like, okay, well, we're going to drug test you. Thank you for coming to me, blah, blah, blah. Well, at this point, his mom was trying to find him like an inpatient, like rehab facility.
Yeah.
And so she was working with the PO, basically saying, hey, like, don't send him back to prison. We're going to send him out of state, get him away from all this, blah, blah, blah. PO's like, cool. The court's got a hold of it. We're like, nah, he's going back. And yanked him, threw him back in.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like tax dollars.
Yep.
This is,
it breaks your heart.
none
dude.
of this makes any sense. Like, I get it. And I don't want to like label half these dudes, because most of them, I don't want to say most. Obviously, you know it much better than me, but like a lot of those dudes, what's up? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Time flies, dude.
I know. Time having fun.
So, like, the guy's willing to change his life. He's obviously, he got out of the system, screwed up.
Yeah.
Getting
Mind
back
you, he
on
hadn't
it,
touched the streets for 10 years.
and
Since he was 18.
reaches out to you for a cry of help, cry for help.
Exactly.
PO's cool, which I feel like most POs aren't.
Yeah. And
Gives him a chance.
I don't know the full extent of what happened. Basically, yeah, the PO was like, okay, well, let's, thank you for coming to me.
Let's work through this.
Let's work through it, yeah.
Mom's got a rehab center, and then the court finds out, and let's send him back to the system where he can get back drawn into it, back in a gang.
Yep.
And then our taxpayer dollars are now having to fund this guy, even though he's trying. But like at the same time, like how many of these guys are the court seeing? How many of these guys are dealing with the POs that are just taking advantage of the system?
And that's the statistics. So I see both sides of it.
For sure.
But I also feel like that's just like they tell us not to be jaded. They tell us not to get complacent. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you see 1,000 cases a day. If you can't be subjective on every single case, then you're not doing your job and you're doing a disservice to the
unless you're a child molester, then they just lock every one of those fucks up.
I think firing squad castrate. I mean, there's
for sure. I'm with you on that one.
So they send him back, and I didn't. At this point, I didn't know that he was going back. Like I talked to his mom. She's like, "Yeah, we're getting him into rehab." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Cool." And then all of a sudden, I don't hear from him for like 2 months. I text him. His obviously the number it bounces. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I get a phone call one day. It's like in the afternoon. I'm hanging out. I think Ashton and I were going to like lunch or something. And it's like, you have a call from an inmate at Idaho correctional. I'm like, what the? So I answer it. And it was like, Chad Pasquini.
You're
so
like, oh,
yeah, I was like, oh, God. So I answer. I was like, what's up, dude? He's like, they locked me back up. I was like, well, obviously, it sounds like it. And so we were talking. And he's like, yeah, they hit me on this and that and blah, blah. He's like, I was supposed to go to rehab. I was supposed to do all these things. But the courts didn't want to play ball. He's like, so they basically, they call it flopping. They flopped me and they sent me back to prison. And I was like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, dude, I don't know. He's like, I'm sitting on a 15-year sentence.
No. Oh, because he got out early. They paroled him
early,
and fucked that up and went right back.
So he had 15 years over his head that, if he screwed up. And so I was like, okay. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore, Kyle. He's like, I'm being honest. He's like, I'm not a gang member. I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, well, Chad, the only way that you're going to show the courts, I was like, because the earliest he'll be able to see parole is a year from now. And he's like, I'm not dropping out. He's like, if they never let me out again, he's like, then I'll need to, and I dropped out, basically went to protective custody. He's like, then I'm gonna have to live with dropouts for the rest of my sentence. He's like, you want to talk about a target on your head? And I'm like, well, Chad.
Oh, if you drop out of the gang.
Yeah.
So are you labeled like as bad as a sex offender then when you drop out?
Not quite as bad. Sex offenders are like bottom of the barrel.
Okay.
Like that's
rightfully so.
Yeah. You are garbage human being. Like there's, gang dropouts, depending in a weird way, there is like a respectful way to go where you just basically say, hey, I'm not good with the gang anymore. I'm not giving you secrets. I just want to, be left alone.
How does that work? I mean, how successful is that?
If more often than not, it's a ploy to get to another gang dropout. So they'll fake have someone drop out to go to a PC tier to go after, because someone owes a debt or whatever it is. I'd say more often than not, that's kind of what would happen.
So hilarious. They play that deep.
Oh yeah, dude, it's their
Are
lives.
they doing that to try to get to sex offenders too?
100%. And you know what the weird part is? So the AKs, the white nationals, they are probably the gayest of them all. the amount of times I caught those dudes.
Let's talk about some gay shit.
Okay.
It's been in the back of my head this whole time because you hear all the oh, don't drop the soap, like, you know, growing up your whole life that there's a lot of. Is it as gay as people say in prison? Like, I mean, are you walking
1,000%?
Really?
Now the whole drop the soap thing, that's a little
Are
embellished.
dudes getting raped, or is it all like?
More often than not, I would say it's consensual, but not so much consensual. Like, hey, you know, they call it gay for the stay. So you'll have dudes that are doing like serious time and like they just want a blowjob. And so they'll have rank on someone and be like, either you're going to blow me or, you know, you're out. So yeah. Yeah, I feel so uncomfortable talking about this, but
hey, she's heard some shit.
Yeah.
So wait. I don't even know where to go with this.
Yeah.
So it's as gay as like everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah, for the most part.
Like, what's the percentage of dudes that are hooking up in prison?
So out of the AKs, they're known for it. So
is that why the other groups, the violent,
the SVC guys,
is that why they're like
part of the reason?
Yo, I'm not down with that.
That's part of the main reason.
Okay, I respect that.
The race stuff, and then because the white boys, the AKs are a lot of meth is their big thing.
And a lot of stuff gets put in areas for meth.
100%. Okay. So, like I said, I wouldn't say it's consensual stuff, but a lot of times they will, it's gay for the stay. They'll like blow each other and do.
Are you catching this a lot?
There has been times that I've caught full blown like sex acts, like doing them. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this max because if they're locked individual, or is this mid because they have cells?
So it's more so in like the dorm and like the mid and the medium level stuff that you'll hear like the actual sex going on. But twice I caught guys at max that were active gang members. And mind you, in their bylaws, it is against the rules to be gay, but they will do cell swaps to have sex with each other. Because if they're both doing it to each other, nobody else knows. Yeah, it's not gay. They cancel it out. Dude, it's crazy. I mean, I'm talking respected shot callers that are like, getting a blowjob from their, lower enlisted. And yeah, crazy stuff.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. And then now now they've integrated. So while I was there, they went from, they call them hard walks and soft walks. So hard walks are your gang members, soft walks are your dropouts. All right. Because at the close custody GP, there were so many people because the population grew so fast that they had to start separating them. There was no longer a PC unit and then a gang unit. They started integrating. Now they're not ever supposed to change or, mix, but that's basically what would happen. So you would have your bottom two walks would be your gang members, and then your top two walks would be dropouts. Okay. Explain that to me, because you know how easy it is? It's the slip of a button for me to roll 1 through 8, or was that 17 through 24 or something like that? You know what I mean? So it's literally the button was within an inch of each other. So I could have walk 1 out who are gang members. And
with prior gang members getting let out at the same time?
Yeah, where, they were doing a day room swap, and by the slip of a finger, I mean to open up walk 1 to let them back in, but I open up,
How often did that happen?
So that's where some of the other mass riots that I was in were, so it happens more than you think. And
on purpose, you think? Or is it just negligence and new COs?
Me personally, with my like crew and the guys that I ran with, like nobody ever intentionally did it. But I definitely think there's been times that I responded to where I'm like, there's no way in hell that was a mistake type of thing.
Because like rivals are getting...
Yeah.
Okay.
And I truly feel like when that kind of stuff happens, a larger investigation needs to go into who was working that day. Then, obviously going after the guys in the, that got in the fights and did the stuff.
Yeah. But how did it happen? Why was there, leading back to the source?
Exactly. Because there's no way, and they're like, I don't know, the door just opened. The door doesn't just open. No. You must have clicked something, and it's like, if you did and it was a mistake, then own that. You won't get in trouble because we're human. We make mistakes. Like if you, at the end of the day, they're in prison. They're choosing to be violent. It is what it is.
I feel like this is just like a cockfight.
100%.
And then.
Yeah. And then you have administration who is telling you one thing I got asked to stop coming to morning meetings because I got to a point where I was like, dude, what you guys are asking us to do is fucking retarded. Like, it doesn't make sense. And I would sit there and question, the higher up leaderships, like, how about you come work a shift with me and let me know how that's going to work for you.
And they never would.
They never do. No.
Shocker.
Well, with our reports and what we've seen, like, I don't care what your reports, what you've seen. Come work alongside me. And now I will, before I left, there was a change of leadership at my institution and, our wardens and deputy wardens. And I will say, the chief of prisons, Chad Page, the dopest dude. So when I started, he was, I think, the warden at the yard.
Okay.
And now I think he's still chief of prisons. That guy would show up in his normal admin gear and come work a shift with you.
Really?
He'll go do chow.
That's a leader though.
Yeah.
That's a leader.
He had a lot, politics, like in real life wise, I don't know where, we never talked about that kind of stuff, but just as a person, that dude, I respected the hell out of him because it's like he was one person that was so high up that you just don't interact with, and he would show up
in the trenches.
If there was a problem in the unit, and it was like, hey, these 3 months normally, we have 4 or 5 fights, but these 3 months there is 10 fights a month. What's going on? He would come down and work with you for the day, the week. He'll work in the control center. He'll literally shadow you the entire time. Now, when he does that, the inmates definitely acted way different because they know, you know what I mean? Like but at least he got to see like what we do. And when he moved to power, things started changing dramatically. I feel like
in the right direction,
in the right direction.
That's good.
There was just like anything else, there's the Good Boys Club that, people that had worked together for 20, 25 years that are now in leadership. I feel like when Chad Page took over the chief of prisons, we had awesome leadership, someone that put his money where his mouth was, came and worked shifts. Dude, that guy, he didn't even take holidays with his family. Christmas, he would be out there serving chow in the institutions. Like, that to me is a leader. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to spend every holiday with me, but it's not like he would take off, and just, every weekend, he didn't work his Monday through Friday. Like, dude, he was there, and it wasn't just normal shifts. He would work overnights. He would work day shifts, swing shifts. He would all the time. He was known for it. So you had him and his crew. Awesome. You had this middle management, which was basically just above lieutenants, but not quite like chief of prisons.
Okay.
You're like admin. And then you'd have like your lieutenants and like in your institution leadership. The issues were in that middle problem.
Why is there such a disconnect between him and the next tier down? Like,
because he's telling them to do something. They're going, yeah. But then as it goes down, they want to fulfill what he wants, but then they need to fit in what their agenda doing too. Again, I never got that high because I just was in. They basically at one point just told me like, you're not promotable. Like, dude, I had the Silver Cross. I had letters of I've got a whole list of stuff of things that the riots, thank you letters, all this kind of stuff, pins like from my basically 5.5 years of working there, a stack of stuff. But they said I'm basically not promotable because I won't basically fit the mold. I won't conform. And that was kind of at the point where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm done with this.
Time to go.
And then honestly, that was 2019. The world changed. That's when I was really starting to look to becoming a cop, like a street cop.
Yeah.
But dude, everything I was like, you know what? I don't want this anymore. Like, I feel like, cops were, on their lunch breaks getting shot in the head because of, all the stuff that was going on. Everything got, the whole world got political. And that was kind of what changed, everything is IDOC was that was only supposed to be temporary. And then I started getting on like the response teams and all the fun stuff, doing all the fights. A couple of years go past. And then all this, basically when they looked me in the eyes and were like, yeah, you're not promotable. You're great at your job. We like you. We love you. Like my immediate leadership, but it's like, we can't sell it to the people that make the decisions because you go to these meetings and you challenge them. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they're putting my life and my other officers' lives in danger
for sure
for shit that they're, writing down on paper. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if I get in trouble for asking questions, and that's not something I want to be a part of.
And that, I respect that because like I've always been that guy.
Yeah.
Like, when I was in Afghan, we had these leaders. This dude was a fucking idiot. and he was a coastie. I don't even know why or how he even got on this position to be leading a team in Afghanistan. Anyways, we would leave the same gate at the same time and take the same route every day. And as he'd be giving these briefs, I was like, when in your military career do you ever build a pattern? And so it was every time. And then like one time we were leaving to go do a route recon with a couple of my buddies, and they're like, oh, we don't want you to take weapons with you. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you want me driving around these city streets?
Yeah.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, it could show a show of force. And so I would question everything. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I was always that guy. And then it started coming back. And then they started pushing back on me, giving me shitty shit. And so you could see, but like, I don't give a fuck. If it doesn't make sense, I'm going to ask why or how can we fix this.
Especially when your life's at risk too. It's not 100%. Just like it's not just a little decision that's being made. It's like
100%. Yeah. It's not like we're making cookies working at Sensi or we're changing flavors out and shit. I'm taking the same street that we left at 4:00 yesterday and the day before, and then and I'm watching these dudes filming us as we go by, and I'm like, we have 3 other gates and. Like just change the time
common
up.
Sense,
It's wild how some guys, they get such in a groove and a pattern, they get so complacent, and it's like, why aren't we changing anything? And it's like, and as they move rank, they stop caring and they forget where they came from.
Exactly, that's the biggest thing. And I always say it's the department. I feel like the military also, because I don't know if you know, I did civilian contracting for the Army here too. For the National Guard. I'll tell you that after. So I've always said, like, the department needs to be proactive, not reactive. And that's like my biggest frustration. I feel like with any law enforcement I've done or any contracts I've done, it's like, I feel like we know it, we sit here and talk about it, but nothing's done until a staff assault happens. Someone gets shanked, someone gets shot, that's when I feel like, and I'm like that, how do you go through life and leadership in that way? Like, your boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, are telling you this is not working.
Yeah.
But you're going to continue going through it because nothing's happened yet. But until, that convoy gets, blown up or shot up or, that officer gets stabbed or, whatever it is, then you're going to be like, oh God, we got to put all this stuff in play.
And then it's always a knee-jerk reaction. Fix it now. Exactly. And it's like, well, this still doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yep. 100%.
It breaks my heart seeing it. And like I said, I watch, some good friends of mine, staff attacks, stabs, things like that, where I'm like, this could have all been avoided if you guys just would have listened.
Yeah.
So,
quick question.
Yeah.
Before we move on. Have you ever had shit? I had a buddy that was correctional. He's up in Portland. Have you ever had shit thrown on you?
Not me. I've had shit thrown at me, but it didn't get on me. I forgot what they called it.
There's a term for this?
What?
There's a term for this?
Yeah, there's I totally drawing a blank right now. Basically, they mix piss and shit together. They mix into a liquid, and because that way it could throw it through the doors and it gets through. Or they can, like, when you open up the port to feed them, it like has distance. You're not like chucking a log at somebody.
I would.
Dude, yes. I've always so when I
feel like I would take a chance of fighting any motherfucker in that building all day versus as I walk by.
But there's the thing,
dude, that you want to talk about in rage mode, instant.
You know what? The other thing that really sent me, and this happened one time, is when I got stuck with a needle, and I looked the inmate in the eyes. I said, "Is there anything in your belongings that is sharp? Will poke me? Will stick me? Anything?" No, there's nothing in there. The reason why we're hitting this dude's cell is because we had correspondence.
You got stuck with a needle?
Yeah. I ended up
in prison.
I ended up in the hospital and everything.
You got stuck with a needle?
Yeah.
That's a whole other fear unlocked right there.
The whole reason why we're there is because we had information that this guy had needles from diabetics, and he was basically, filling up these needles with heroin and all this stuff, and then he was selling the needles. So we're like, hey, we basically hooked the guy up. I'm like, is there anything in your belongings I need to know about? I'm like, if you tell me now, it's not, because we knew we were going to find it. It was just a matter of what the charge was going to be, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, no, I don't have anything. I was like, cool. So hook him up, basically take him out. And why I didn't have my gloves on, I don't remember. I know I was working in overtime.
Would the gloves help? I mean, I feel like
They have poke-proof gloves that we would wear for searches, and I don't know why I didn't have it. Again, I was working in overtime. I think I might have left them in my unit or something because it's not like something I carried on me all the time. Like I kept like the neoprene gloves, but not like my stick-proof stuff. Stuck my hand in, and it was
in what?
In his he had like a bin that had like clothes and his commissary and stuff. And I stuck my hand in to move something, and I felt it go on the side of my finger. And this guy hadn't left the room yet, so the officer still had him in restraints. And when I stuck my hand in, and I pulled my hand out, and this needle sticking out of my finger.
Oh no, dude! I
saw red. I turned and looked at the guy, and the two officers that had him like pulled him and ducked him because I saw red instantly. I was gonna kill him, and so
you pulled your hand out of a bin, and the dude's syringe is sticking in your hand.
Yep. So
first thought that went through your head:
I'm gonna kill him.
I thought I had AIDS.
HIV.
HIV, 100%.
Well, it was like that fear because it was just
that's the worst to me.
I guess my first thought was it was like HIV, but my first reaction was I'm going to kill him
for sure.
So I got hands on him, and the officers are like pushing. They still have hands on him, and they're grabbing me. They're like, "Let it go," So I kind of snapped, and I was like, "Okay." They took him away, and they put him in the cell behind the door, and I was like, "You fucking piece of shit!" I went off on him, and he's like, "Nations, I swear, like I didn't know that was there, like blah blah blah." So I ended up going to the hospital. I drove myself, but I went to the hospital and brought the needle, did all the stuff. They did the testing, and thank God it was like 5 hours. I sat there waiting for blood tests, and everything came back negative.
How many years off your life did that take waiting for that test to come back?
I was panicking, because I'm like,
what if I had heroin in it? And now you got
either I'm dead or HIV or something, like taking someone home to my wife. Like,
dude, you had freaking guardian angel
and at
that
this point, like the adrenaline had worn off by the time I was like waiting at the hospital. So I'm like sitting there for like 4 hours waiting for them to tell me. And finally the nurse comes in. She's like, "Has anybody come?" And I'm like, "No, like what's going on?"
Oh, it's been done like 4 hours ago.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh no, you're clear." I'm like,
they forgot about you.
Yeah, literally. And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me, dude." And so
that's probably the worst day of your life.
It sucked, but I was so relieved. And I'm like texting Ashlyn, like,
I'm
dude,
sweating just thinking about that.
Yeah.
That is a fear.
So that one was probably, there wasn't many times that I snapped when I was in the prison. So that was one where like, I thought I would have killed him. If nobody else was around, I would have just like throttled him. Cause for sure. It was just an instant reaction. I don't know. I snapped. But yeah.
What do you find? So what are some weird things that you find in prison cells?
Homemade dildos, homemade fifis.
What are they making dildos out of? Soap? They warm it up?
They take soap and like medical gloves. So they'll have like trustees or nurses that aren't paying attention. They'll grab them and they'll basically take the fingers of the glove and they'll cut them and then they'll pack them with soap and get them to whatever,
girth they like.
Girth they want. Yeah. And you find them a lot in the AK guy cells. Yeah. You think you're looking for shanks and you pull it out just like a 9-inch, dong.
Like, what is this? Do you
like,
bend it?
Well, yeah, you break it or whatever. You're just like, but
do you let them keep it or do you confiscate?
Oh hell no, I take it, dude. I'm like, that's good.
I mean, have you ever like?
No, swear to God.
Gotta ask, dude. I gotta ask.
If anything, I mean, people have like told me stories of stuff that they've like seen on it, but I've never like seen like poop on it or something like that. You know what I mean? But I've found them and I'm like, and it's like, then you look at the guy and he's all, "Get it for the stay." And I'm like, dude, you're supposed to be tough.
Are these like just yoked ass hard, like tatted up dudes and you're finding like, dildos, soap? I've never heard this before.
Yeah. So
I've heard of fifis, right?
Yeah, fifis, they take like sponges from the kitchen with a elastic glove and they put it in like, so these inmates get like water cups. So they take the gloves, they'll, basically put the glove in and wrap it over. Then they'll put like the sponges with obviously the soft side in, and then they'll do another glove and they create,
yeah.
And then, they'll just go to town on it.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, it's better than
especially lifers,
any of your other options, I guess.
Yeah, it's either your cellmate or that. I mean, if you got to do it, it is what it is. But dude, there's, like I said, there's, guys from like, there was a couple of gang members like in my tenure there that had dropped out to go over to the PC tier because there was like a transgender over there or something like that. just to go get their rocks off, and then they would beat someone up and come back to the hard walks. Yeah. They go
These dudes are dropping out of gangs to go hook up with the tranny.
Well, they'll tell you they're dropping out.
Yeah. They drop out,
Yeah.
go get their rocks off out at the tranny, and then fight somebody and come back.
One of the main trainers was Baby Lokes.
Baby Lokes?
Yeah, that's how he went.
What do they look like? I mean, are they like long hair?
So yeah, some of them look like your typical like lipstick on a pig. You know what I mean? But like Baby Lokes, like we always joked. I'm like waist down. Nah. Like, I wouldn't say no type of thing. Like that was always kind of the joke, but it's like it was because he would pat his butt with like extra clothes and stuff. So he'd just be walking around. We call him Thicky Ricky. Like he just we'd be like, Thicky Ricky is like, yes. Like, yeah, his moniker was Baby Lokes. Yeah.
Why don't they have like more reality shows in this?
I've always said, I'm like, dude, this would be so funny if we could just document this. Not like life behind bars, not like if you could just like a day in the life of a CO and like someone that's been around, knows people. Cause like you'd walk around and like, Baby Lokes would just, say weird stuff to you. And I'm like, you couldn't even get it if you tried. And he's like, you don't want these cheeks and all this stuff. Just talking shit back to you. Yeah. Like it was actually kind of funny, but yeah, there would be dudes that would like drop out of gangs just to go over there because they would hear like, oh, Baby Lokes is on tier 2. Like they knew where all these like trainees were, and would like
How many trainees are in there? They get beat up or are they just left alone?
No, honestly, a lot of them are just left alone because they use their like sexual stuff to stay out of trouble. So like
they use it for lipstick and shit and makeup.
Dude, arts and crafts, they'll take soap or like Vaseline, and they'll get ink from a pen and mix it all. It's the ingenuity in prison is insane. I'm like, if you guys took a fraction of the energy you put into like the shit that you do here and just did it in normal life, like
you'd be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you'd be an entrepreneur. You would have your own business, dude. I'm talking guys that are like pulling off like outlets, creating like basically tattoo machines out of a razor with a guitar string and like all this stuff, and they've got it plugged in so it's hardwired, so they're not worried about battery, or it's got a battery connect. They've got hot pots where they're they'll basically, because they have like these metal like fixed to the wall in the cell, so you have your 2 bunks, whether top and bottom, and there'll be like a 2 chairs and a table mounted to the wall.
Okay,
and they'll basically pull the outlet off the wall, get some wires and all this stuff, run it up to the table, and heat the table up, and they'd be in there like with
cooking shit.
Yeah. So they'll take their breakfast sandwiches or their they'll take the sandwich bread from lunch and the eggs and like bacon from breakfast, and they'll make like breakfast sandwiches, and they're like, dude, it's insane.
Does it smell good when they're cooking this shit?
Like and it's like I can't be mad at you. Like that's dope.
I mean, do you have to like confiscate that shit at that point, or are you like, yo, clean this shit up?
I feel like enough time has passed I can say this, but there was many lines I blurred because I'm like, you're not hurting anybody.
Anything.
Yeah,
I feel like that's how I would be. I'd just be just right.
Yeah.
Like
my whole thing was, don't make me look stupid and don't make me do my job. That was my it took probably 2 years for me to for my name to get out there that way. But guys would come in and be like, oh, you're Nations. And I'm like, yeah, why? What's up? They're like, no, man, just I'm so-and-so, blah, blah. Like, this person told me about you, we'll be cool.
Just be fair.
Yeah. And dude, there was times like I would walk on a tier and there would be guys that, hold the keys, and I would be like, look, not today. Like, shut it down, and all of a sudden that tier would be quiet for the day. And it wasn't just me that had the power. Like other guys on my our shift, just we treated people with respect. And then like our big thing was
goes pretty far.
Yeah, don't make us look dumb and don't make me do my job.
I feel like that's pretty fair.
And we're good. Tattooing, all that kind of stuff. Like obviously you would hear it. They would pop breakers all the time, and because they're hardwiring in. But
are dudes ever getting shocked and shit in there?
Oh yeah, yeah. One dude got like medical. He didn't know, but it ended up being a good thing because he had like some like heart murmur, and that he didn't know about until he got like electrocuted, and then it was a whole thing. I never found out what happened to him. This was like years ago, but yeah, dude, it was
end up getting zapped.
Yeah, he got zapped and somehow found this like murmur that was able to like, it was essentially like they had to put a stent in or something. I don't know the outcome of it, but that was pretty crazy. But
what other in like creative shit?
Dude, there's this guy Eberly. He's a multi-lifer. He was
A multi-lifer.
Yeah, he was an AK dude. And we used to find machetes in this dude's cells. Like, he wasn't making like a little poke and stick. Like, he was known for making daggers. Where he would come across this stuff, I have no idea. How he would get his hands on it, nobody knows. I'm talking thick pieces of metal that he would sharpen on both ends and literally have a sword. And you're like, it's so dangerous.
And you can't track down like this chunk of metal?
No.
So it's getting brought in from somewhere?
It's either getting brought in or dug up or, I mean, the beds are mounted to the wall.
Okay.
So I'm sure there's a piece like of metal that, maybe through enough time they can get like a string up there and cut through it. And it, I don't know. Like, sometimes you can find it. Like, you'll walk into a cell search, and that's the thing is complacency. A lot of officers don't get on their hands and knees and look under these beds. And, they kind of like, oh, like,
clear.
Like these guys are going to just leave their shanks and their drugs just sitting on the table for
right
you.
there, yeah.
But yeah, or like even down the toilet. So a lot of times if you flush the toilet, hold it open, and then you stick your hand in, you'll find like strings, and then you grab the string and you pull it up, and there'll be like sacks of drugs. There'll be anything.
Is it pretty cool when you find it? Is it kind of like a rush?
Yeah, I mean but it was at first, but then as I started finding stuff, especially if it was like drug related, I knew someone was about to get really hurt, and that was the part. Like, okay, yes, I got it. It didn't hit the tears.
Oh, because you're taking a source away.
Yeah, but I know now that either. That guy was either holding it for somebody, he was the one dealing it. For some reason, we find that, there's two guys in a cell, neither of them are going to take ownership of it, right? So now, and if they're not talking, how, then
you
what?
Pin
You
it
can't
on
do
anybody,
anything, right? So it's like they both go the hole, but now regardless, those drugs are gone. Somebody paid for those. So now you're watching these guys because, it may not happen tomorrow. They may go down to the hole for a month for the drugs. Come back, it may not happen for 6 months. You don't know. Next thing you know, they've got their neck slit or something, or they're getting jumped or stomped out. It's like that. So it was weird. Like, as I would find stuff and things like that, like people were so, and a lot of the newer officers were like, oh yeah, they would get all excited and take pictures with their phones and like, but I'm like, you don't understand. Like, yes, this is good. We found it.
This is going to trickle.
Yeah. Watch what happens. And that's what I guess started changing for me with that is the actions to the reactions to the actions and stuff like that.
Drugs
everywhere.
How? Okay. So we had a good guy on, Paul, previous episode. Dude's never even had a speeding ticket in his life.
Yeah.
He ends up catching some bullshit charges, hunting Lacey Act charges. It's a crazy story.
He did time?
Dude, they threw the book at him. Like, this dude's got a brand new baby at home. He's in his, got to be late 40s, early 50s. Brand new family. Wow. Got everything going. Very successful.
Yeah.
This dude is the last person. The whole thing's on a previous episode.
Yeah. I'll watch it.
That's Ends crazy. Up doing some time up in Washington.
Okay.
He's just a businessman, right?
Yeah.
Big dude though. Like, he's a burly ass guy.
Yeah.
So he gets in with the Samoans. He gets in with the blacks. Like, he's giving business classes. He's teaching, so he doesn't get pulled in. He's kind of like the old timer on the block that's like helping all the different groups and gangs and shit.
Glad, not to cut you off, I'm glad you brought that up because that when you asked earlier, like, you have to get involved, 99.9. But there are people that like that they are white collar guys or something like that where they have certain set of skills where they don't team up with anyone, but they get protection. So I'm glad you got it. Yeah. Glad you brought that
okay,
up.
Cool. So this adds to the story. But where was I going? Oh, so he said in there, he's never seen so many drugs and how rampant it was, and it was all the COs bringing it in.
Yep.
He said the correctional officers were the biggest drug dealers in the prison.
1,000%.
How does that work?
So when you get to work, you walk through a metal detector. Mind you, you have your duty belt, you have your bag with all your gear in it, all your shit, your car keys. The beeper's going to go off every time, right? the officer sitting there isn't going to, they don't go through every single officer.
Is the officer sitting there like the old timer, like Men in Black, or he's just sitting there like,
needed to retire 5 years ago, but sitting right out that pension, like those.
So it's easy to get shit by.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I've always said the security entrance positions, whether it's entering into the actual facility or entering into different, units, whatever, shouldn't be a normally staffed position. I don't feel like someone should be like designated to that.
Should be a cop.
It should be rotating.
Okay.
So people aren't getting complacent, because I truly think that's what it is. So yeah, you walk in, they give you this clear bag that, you can bring your lunch, all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're, again, especially at Max, it's such a small community. Like, everybody knows each other. So like, I'm not going to look at you and suspect that you're doing anything wrong. But that's the thing is, and I'm finding out now, even after I've left, talking to people, that dudes that I was super close with that were bringing in cell phones, bringing in drugs this whole time, that they were able to date it back to like 2012 that they started doing this. And I'm like, I sat shoulder to shoulder with this dude. I've been to his house. I've sat with his family. I've done these things. And this motherfucker
was providing
drugs, whatever it was, this whole time. Yeah. And you know what the crazy part is? So again, moving to Idaho, Ashland's business taking off. We're making, good money, right? I mean, I wasn't, but my wife's salon, I was put under investigation 3 times because the truck I drove, and because they couldn't figure out where my money was coming from. There was internal investigations against me.
Really?
So when I had a Canyon, GMC Canyon, it was lifted, it was sick. It was like the showroom truck. Just got it, and Ashland had just bought like a murdered out black Yukon. It was sick, so we bought them the same week, or I think they were a week apart. I showed up to work, and most people are like, "Oh yeah, dude, cool truck." I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. I think it was like 40 grand. It wasn't anything crazy, but about a couple weeks later, I find out I'm under investigation because they're like, "You make X amount of dollars. How do you afford this truck?" And I was like, "My wife," and they're like, "Well, we don't believe it." So that was the first one. And then,
I would be so offended.
Yeah. So then I drove Ashland's car to work one day in this murdered out Yukon. It was like what are they, Denali? Is that what the, I'm under investigation again. And this was like, I don't know, 6 months later. I was like, you got to be shitting me, dude. So then they, and they go through everything. And a lot of times I only found out I was under investigation because I was friends with guys that also, worked with IA and stuff. Okay. Otherwise I wouldn't have known.
So they're watching.
Yeah, they're watching. And I'm like,
what are they watching for? Like, are they watching cameras and seeing if you're, so like, okay, so if I got a sandwich, I could put some like heroin in that sandwich, my lunch, and bring it to work. And then I'm doing a cell inspection and dropping it off in there and I'm getting paid. Is that, I mean, how does the transaction happen?
That's how it works. Like you're an inmate, I'm a CO, you want heroin. Okay. Mm-hmm. Usually the inmate will set it up like with his people. Like you only call somebody on the out. Yeah. Package it. I'll tell you, hey, I'm going to put it in this. So that we'll get it set up. I'll bring it into you. You confirm with him that you got it. And then the people that he has on the outside will either deposit the money and give me the cash, whatever it is. That's how it works.
Oh, so the inmates aren't paying you. It's outside.
Correct. And with money, money orders, there's so many ways to pay people now. Right. But I literally got to a point where I forgot, I don't remember what rank the person was. I was like, do you want to see my fucking bank account? Do you want to see my tax returns? Like, my wife makes really good money. Mm-hmm. Like, why, just because I work here doesn't mean that I can't afford stuff. Like, you act like my wife doesn't work. Well, it's just really odd because and then that was the other thing. So it was like, I don't know, maybe a year later, we sold the Yukon. Ashland took the Canyon, and then I got an AT4, the GMC AT4 that was all decked out, and that was the 3rd time. And I'm like, dude, you guys it's insane. Like, I don't know. Number one, it's none of your business. Number 2, put me under investigation. Talk whoever you want to talk to. But the fact that it's like, I took it personal because it's like you're acting like my wife isn't capable of doing something.
I mean, so. But at the same time, you have this rampant drug problem coming from the CEOs. Why aren't they doing more to crack down on this?
I think there's a staffing issue. I think there's a PR issue. I think, and this is just, hypotheticals. I don't know. But it sucks, man. Cause there's dudes that I thought very highly of that I say went into battle with, many times that it's like, dude, this whole time you were fucking
providing drugs,
whether it's cell phones, drugs, whatever it was. And it's like,
I've always wondered, because you see the dude, I see this there. I came across a guy not too long ago. He had a TikTok account. He's a prisoner.
oh yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah.
They're posting on social.
Yeah.
I'm like, first off, how fucking retarded do you have to be to post from inside a prison? Like,
well, and Idaho, especially Idaho now, they have, I don't want to call them cell phone blockers, but because they're, basically cell phone blockers. So unless you have the Wi-Fi, like you have to submit your phone to administration. They take all your data, all your knowledge.
Oh, the COs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, then they give you like a Wi-Fi, and then you can use your phone inside the prison. But then that, obviously they can monitor everything on your phone. So they say, hey, you can bring your phone in and you can do it, but we can see everything, all your personal messages, everything. So I don't know the benefit of them getting cell phones there, because it's like, unless the CO's also giving them the Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is all attached to each phone. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like a computer geek, but it all tracks, right? So I don't know how that works unless they're taking them out to like the rec yards, and that's when they're using them, because it's an open area, you do get service out there, but like inside the facilities, there's no cell service.
That is wild. Here we are, and we're providing these inmates with drugs, which is, it's a huge currency in there, correct?
Massive. You got to think about it. Like, I would be there for 8 to 16 hours a day, right? I go home, see my family, do my thing. Did I work a lot? Absolutely. There's guys that are in there for life. They're in there, they've been down for 10 years. I'm talking about people younger than me, went in at 18, and it's like, they don't even know what adult life is.
They don't even know what the world looks like.
They don't know anything. Like, dude, could you imagine, like, if you went to prison in, 2010, and then you got let out in 2024, just being like released, just all the technology, cars, just everything. It's crazy,
what the fuck
dude.
happened to the world? Yeah.
And all they know is off of their little, shitbox TVs that they buy off commissary that they, pay $300 for, and it's a $20 TV that you can go get, at a pawn shop.
They upcharge these dudes that much?
Dude, that's a whole other thing.
What's a pack of ramen cost in prison?
So they'll do like, and I don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was like basically like $1 a pack.
Okay.
But they're buying it for 30 cents a piece. You know what I mean? That's not even the upcharge stuff, because that's something pretty normal. You want a pair of like white New Balances, $200. You want a 12-inch, have you ever seen the 12-inch like see-through TVs? Yeah, $275 or $300. Like, dude, it's insane. You want a pair of that's not state issued sweatpants, like you want actual winter gear, you're talking hundreds of dollars. So you can tell who has support and who doesn't. And it's beyond just the commissary that people get. You can tell by the way they're dressed. You can tell, by their sunglasses. They're getting Oakleys. They're getting, brand new, like not just like your typical, flip flops and inmate shoes. You're getting, New Balances. They're getting, Jordans, whatever.
They could wear all this shit in there?
Yeah, if they can buy it, yeah. And a lot of times they'll come from different prisons throughout the state. And if they, let's say they're in a Nevada prison and we do an inmate swap, like as long as it's, it's nothing crazy, but if it's like a pair of shoes, like they'll let them bring it. So then you got guys coming in from other states doing, like inmate swaps, and they're coming in, with Jordans and necklaces and all. Yeah, it's crazy. Dude, the more I learned.
Is this in max or mid?
It's all over.
Really?
All over. Yeah. Absolutely.
There's nothing about our correctional system that makes sense to me. There is nothing.
You know what the one way to fix it would be? I want to say fix it, but what they do, and again, I can only speak for Idaho, but just talking to other friends. So they drop the age from 21 to 18, right? Stupid. Because
huge problem, yeah.
Yeah. What they need to do, and I know it's going to suck and it's going to hurt, it's going to take a few years, but what they need to do is if they look at all their officers they have right now, take your tenured officers, take your guys that are, growing, that are constantly doing well, they're getting letters of appreciation, getting the silver stars, getting all this stuff, get them, kick out all the rest of the idiots, the ones that are barely holding on by a thread, that are just stagnant, filling air, basically. take those guys and pay them what you were paying the other, like double their pay. Like, police officers, I don't think they get paid enough either, but it's like you take an officer, a corrections officer, you pay them $15 an hour, and then an inmate officer goes, hey, you bring in, a little sheet of meth for me, and I'll, give you $5,000.
I mean, I see that.
Like,
I see it.
That's what I mean. And you got to think about, most people have never seen that kind of money in their life, and knowing they could do that weekly. Come on. Like,
dude, you could be pulling 20, 30 grand a week.
Exactly.
Or 20, 30 grand a month.
Yeah. And if you, know the right
okay,
people,
if you're talking those numbers, yeah, I would probably risk it for that. I probably would. If I was some guy from bumfuck nowhere out here, and you're just trying to better your life, making $15 an hour, and I can make $5,000 a week.
None of them think it's long term. They're like, dude, I'll do it a few times and then I'll be out.
No.
But the thing is once you do it once, and this has also been an issue, is they'll do it a couple times, and then the inmate will be like, all right, hey, go pick up the package. They're like, no, I'm good. I got enough money. And they're like, oh no, like I own you now. Like, you're going to get it, or I'm going to have my people call. Because I'm going to catch more. I'll catch another couple of years, but I'm already doing life. You're
losing everything.
You're losing everything.
And you're going to end up in here with me.
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
So there's a whole new side to it as well.
Okay. I'd probably still do it.
You're like, dude, I'm like, David, $20, $20.
If I could, if I'm a correctional officer and I could clear, fuck that. I mean, I never even thought of that. Then they own you.
They own you. And that's where it hurts me, because like I said, there's guys I respected that, I not only went to the academy with or worked side by side with for years and been through shit together. And I'm not saying they're always that way, but you come to find out that, for the last 2 years that you've known them, they've been doing this and that. And it's like, dude, you've looked me in my face. I've sat with you at your family's, table. Like, you put my life in jeopardy. Yeah. And it's
that's wild
for money.
And you can't get out.
No. Nope.
You can't get out.
It's just, and I don't know, and that's the thing is I feel like it's just that they're looking for numbers rather than paying the people what they're worth,
For sure. Do $50 an hour is dog shit for somebody you're in there dealing with some max security felon that's murdered 3 people and looks at you like he wants to kill you now. Yeah. And you're not even, I mean, what's minimum wage?
Was it $15 an hour now?
No, she doesn't make minimum wage.
Oh, well, I know, but just, do you have friends that make minimum wage? Like, how much are they? She's just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably $15 an hour-ish. I know in Idaho it's low, especially if you're a tipped person. Honestly, I don't know what minimum wage. I should probably know, but it's not a lot. Put it that way.
That is wild. I mean, at least with cops, I feel like cops are making decent money, but you also have the chance to make overtime. You're making $15 an hour. Now even with overtime, it's still.
Dude, when my sister was working for Boise PD, like, she would work her normal shifts, then she would work overtime, but it wouldn't be like, mandatory. It'd be like she'd work events.
Yeah, like, Boise games and all that stuff. Yeah,
going to see concerts she wants to see.
Yeah,
she was clearing 6 figures a year.
See, I can understand that.
So it's like that. I think she made like $62,000 base, and then with her, with all of her extras, she made over $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
and it's like, and in reality, corrections officers are in more danger than cops are for them. If you look at the possibility of issues, a cop can drive around and not pull anybody over, can just go through a shift and just be like, whatever. Like, you're in a cop car, but you're just kind of cruising around. If you don't want to be that go-getter, if you don't want to do traffic stop, if you don't want to respond to stuff, for the most part, you can.
I would say them, and I'm not speaking for cops. Because,
no, yeah.
Cops, that is one of the...
They're gnarly.
Most god-awful jobs on the planet, because you're not getting called... there's a cat in a tree. Like, that's never... Yes. You're getting called something negative every time. We've had a lot of cops on, and...
I don't want that to come across bad by any means.
No, by any means. But what I'm about to say might. Not even, but... There's certain parts, like some cop work in Oakland all day.
100%.
You're working these down in South Texas with these drug corridors. Yeah. Every person you pull, you're fucking locked and loaded. But you get some dude that's working downtown Boise.
Yeah.
I'm not putting my foot in I'm not saying they're not getting the shit. But you're dealing with drunk college kids. You're dealing with some asshole coming from the bar. Like the threat level isn't as much. But like,
because you can pick and choose what you want to do, right? Like you don't
or work for that and transfer. I feel like as a correctional officer and you're working max security, like you're getting shit thrown on you. You get stuck with needles. Not even like you're dealing with some dude that is stuck in there for life, and now he has to prove something. Like you walk through those doors every day. I feel like you're on high alert.
And that's
everything. And I'm sure there's prison, like when the guys that are
on the minimum, 100%. And that's what I'm saying. Like, no, just a cop by any mean. Like cops.
But I mean, you guys have your version of that. You're mid security or you're low level. I mean, you got guys that are out there that are walking around all day. You're not watching your back. I mean, you see some videos of some correctional officer that lets a guy through a door, which always blows my mind. Why correctional officers? I'll see these videos and they walk through in front of the inmate. That blows my mind. I would never turn my back on. But like,
it's complacency. But yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in a fist fight and you can't get to a radio.
Yeah.
I mean, how often are there attacks on COs?
Like I said, when I left
Idaho.
in 2019, like it was, I mean, there was multiple a year. I mean, when I first started, there was, there hadn't been one in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And like, there was a point, and it's weird. It comes in phases, right? And it all depends. More often than not, it's not a gang thing on the officer. It's because that officer disrespected somebody of that gang.
I can see
so
that.
whether they took family pictures, there's a lot of times where like guys will be on the phone with their families and then they'll end day room. They're like, hey, time to sell up. And instead of like giving the guys like a 2-minute warning, like, hey, we're going to cut phones, say goodnight type of thing. Like they just walk out and cut phones. So you're talking to your kid. For it. Yeah. And I hate to say it because I've been involved I've never personally been assaulted, but I would say 9 out of 10 times I don't want to say the officer asked for it, but they definitely did something to provoke it. It
was preventable.
100%. Just
respect. It goes, and especially in prison, I feel like respect is everything.
Your word
from wherever whatever I've heard, and you see like, you disrespected him. You hear all that shit all the time. Yeah, if you're going to take some guy's belongings, I mean, they have I feel in prison the littlest things are the biggest things to look forward to.
100%. Visits.
I'm not comparing myself to ever being in prison, but on ship, we took Muse, the naval ships. They picked us up off the coast of Pendleton. We drove our vehicles in the ocean.
Yeah.
They picked and there's for any sailors that are listening or any Marines that have ever done a Mew.
Yeah,
it's fucking prison. You're locked in a berthing with 50, 60 dudes all day. You're in coffin racks that are this big. All of your belongings are under your bed, but like. You don't do anything. You don't. I mean, when you're hitting rough seas, bro. There's times where we would be out at sea and you wouldn't see daylight for weeks.
That's crazy.
You go to chow. They got blue and green chow hours.
Yeah.
You work out. You sleep. You go to chow. You work out. You sleep. Like we would always joke about, like, this is fucking prison for the military.
Sounds like
you're
it.
locked on a ship in the middle of the ocean. What do? Not even comparing it to prison, right? But it was always a joke because it's like
the mindset is
the same. It's the same shit. But like you looked so forward. Like the day that they would have, we would call them vert reps. I think they were vert reps where they would bring in like mail.
Yeah.
When they would call your name, it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it was a letter, right?
Like someone intentionally sent something to you and
you got to look for something. I could only imagine somebody that's locked in a cell. Like you have your boys and obviously we don't have the structure and we're getting shit thrown on and gang fight. Then again, it was Army versus Marines where they had to start. My second deployment, it was wild. Like it was so bad on ship. Like they separated Navy and Marines. Like
really,
it was bad, bro. Like it was bad.
So there's no like camaraderie on that kind of stuff.
Fuck,
it's like
no,
really.
Dude, the Navy there was a couple of guys on the ship. I'll never forget this guy. His name was Tucker. At that point in my life, he was the largest black dude I've ever seen in my life.
Like buff wise or just as a person?
Giant.
Really?
Giant. And he was 19 years old. He would walk in the gym and grab like 140 dumbbells and he would warm up with them.
Oh my God.
That big, right? This kid was 19. He fucked up. And for some reason, he latched onto one of the littlest Marines, but he was a grunt. This kid was a grunt. And the Amtracker berthing was like the bow of the ship was the grunts. And then our berthing was the wall. So like our doors went into so we were like grunts and Amtrak. We're 1-on-1, right? Like we're their transport. They're in our vehicles. We have relation. So they stick all the assholes in the front of the ship away from everybody. All the other people were closer to the chow lock. We were the troublemakers. They stick us in the front. This dude would make his rounds through there, and man, he got caught one day. And the grunts, they beat the fuck out of this dude. They ended up duct taping him to one of the pole. There's pipes everywhere inside, when you're walking through.
Yeah.
They taped this dude up and they beat the shit out of him.
Jesus.
And it was a huge ordeal. They ended up separating. So they would come over the comm like, blue hours, chow is now open for blue side.
Yeah.
And that was the Navy would go. And then once the Navy would clear out, chow is now open for green side. It was blue and green. Like they separated us. It was bad. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed it. But I can see, I guess I can see.
But you're locked
why.
on ship and dude, when you leave Hawaii, I mean, you're weeks before you're hitting Australia, or whatever our port was after that.
Yeah.
But we'd always joke like, this is fucking prison. This is prison for, it's 150 degrees. You're going through the Suez Canal.
Yeah. Can't
flush your toilet. You're locked in a berthing all day. It was miserable. So we'd always joke like,
horrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
But we would always laugh about it. Like, this is prison. Like, this is literally the military's version of prison is being on a naval ship. Like, everybody that's ever asked me like, I want to join the Navy. I'm like, I have a lot of time on naval ships. I did 2 deployments from naval ships, and it fucking sucks. But we'd always joke, but obviously I'm not comparing it by any means, but it was always a joke for us because you're locked up all day. You're locked up, and then
it's human nature. When you're locked up, you can't get out. There's no, there's the psyche that goes along with it.
Oh, dude, you start losing your mind, and but with the correctional officer, like, dude, you guys are walking into that every day. Cops literally have horrible job, but I'd say you're right. It's right there.
And that's what I mean. It's like not a dig at cops, but it's just I feel like the opportunity for violence per capita, however you want to put it. COs just don't get, but I also understand why COs don't get the respect they deserve because a lot of them don't take care of themselves. They don't keep up their appearance. They're, it's like if you want to be respected, you need to, have your uniform pressed, shave your face. I don't care. I'm not saying clean shave, but at least have your beard trimmed.
Yep.
Look like you care. You know what I mean? And
I feel like those guys sniff out weakness so quick.
And that's what they do. These guys have 24 hours, 7 days a week
to watch you.
To watch you. They know
study.
Your every move. They know what your favorite drink is. They know, if I don't wear my wedding ring one day, they would,
that
detailed.
Problem with
the missus. Oh, absolutely. These guys,
they would ask you if you had a problem with the missus if you didn't wear.
If I didn't wear my wedding ring, if like Jake and I weren't, because usually Jake and I would do our route or our rounds together. If we weren't, they're like, dude, you guys arguing or what? You guys, or what would they say? Like, issues in bromance or something like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, where's your butt buddy? And I'm like, on the other tier? I don't know. Like, we're working, dude.
They have you guys dialed that much.
Dude, they knew what I drove. They knew your car. They knew everything. When I showed up to work in Ashland's Yukon, everyone was like, damn, big baller. Like, where'd you get that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how the do you guys even know what I'm driving? They're like, oh, we watched you pull up. I don't know how, because the way the parking lot is, there's all admin stuff in front. So I don't know how they saw it.
What building is Max out there? Like if this is on Pleasant Valley, right?
So yeah, if you're taking Pleasant Valley and you turn into the facilities.
Because the women's is on the left side. If you're headed south down Pleasant Valley, the women's on the left side of the road, right?
Correct. And so Max is the next one. So, you turn into the Boise complex.
Okay, yeah.
So Pleasant Valley Road, you'll take a left into the complex. There'll be the big sign that says like South Boise, whatever. Yeah. The first institution you come across is the women's.
Okay.
The next one is Max.
Okay.
And then you have the yard, and then you have minimum. Minimum is the farm all the way at the end. And
which one's on the right side of the road?
That's ISCC. So that was the old private prison that the state bought.
Got it.
So
that one looked like Max because that one looks way scarier.
So that's where when I went from Max, I went to ISCC to basically get away from Max. Yeah. But then they're like, "Oh, you have Max experience, and we now have this Max wing." And so they just put me right back in Max.
And nothing changed.
Nothing changed. All the same inmates. We just swapped them back and forth. It was shit.
No shit.
But yeah. So then,
dude, prison life is wild.
I have a lot of respect, like I said, for the people that stick it out and do it. And, people that I was officers with are now getting up to that sergeant and, lieutenant level. And I really feel like IDOC does have some really good people coming through their ranks. Like I said, just guys that I worked with as officers that have grown. And, I just hope they don't get jaded and, I don't know.
Get caught up.
Yeah, get caught up. It's just one of those things that you just, like you were saying, people change. They forget where they come from, things like that. But, I am proud of what I did there. it was never meant to be a career thing. Like I said, I was going to move on and do other stuff, but I'm thankful for the relationships and the experiences. And like I said, I mean, I don't know how long, you make these podcasts and stuff, but like, I mean, I could talk for 10 hours and you can cut them down to however you want. I can tell you, just direct stories for days, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, then,
so once you wrap that up, what'd you move on to?
yeah. So I left there, right. It was December of 2019. COVID was starting. I was going to try and start a welding business with a buddy. Lasted a couple months, didn't go well. He took the money. I screwed me out of some money, whatever.
Lessons learned.
But like, then I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what do I do? So I was working at Independence and indoor shooting.
Yep.
And so I was one of the range safety guys for the range. And I was like, dude, it's something, it's a paycheck, we don't know. Cause Ashlyn at that point was making I think 2020 was probably the biggest year we've ever had, that she had
with eyebrows,
with doing brows. And, we have a couple girls that, and yeah, I think it was like 2020 was probably the biggest year at that time. So it was kind of at a point where she's like, hey, like, I don't want you, because I was doing a lot of hours with the prisons and stuff. She's like, there's really no need for you to work. Like, I would rather have you home and us be able to experience, like, not telling me to like be a stay-at-home cat dad, because at the time we didn't have kids, but she was just like, you're working a lot of hours, putting yourself at risk, but making no money.
I would have been like, sign me up.
No, it sounded good.
You lose your mind after a while.
Yeah. And there's something about like being a man and your masculinity and things like that. Like,
yeah. See, I'd argue that if Brett wanted me to stay home, I would roger that.
Yeah. But I guess on the other side, I mean, if it meant just being a supporting role for her, that makes sense too. Like, and we talked about that, but we were just kind of at a point where she was like, look, like, business is doing well for me. We're not seeing each other. Like, we're talking about starting a family, all this stuff. So I was like, well, at least go get a paycheck, cause she had to shut her salon down. Boise was like, nope, done, everything. We didn't know how long. And I'm like, well, we've got savings, we've got this, but at least, I can go work for Independence, make, was it like, I don't know, $2,000 a month, whatever. But I also got huge discounts on like ammo and
that pays off,
fun guns and, whatever. So I was working there through the beginning of COVID. And then, one of the finance ladies, or not finance, but she did the books for Independence. We were just talking one day and she's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, and I explained, I was like, COVID hit, it's just a paycheck. I enjoy being around guns and shooting stuff. And, she's like, well, have you ever thought about working for like doing security contracting? And I was like, well, yeah, I think that'd be cool. I just don't really have a background. She's like, well, you do with the department and like the special teams and all that kind of stuff. She's like, you do have a background. You should, my husband, he's a sergeant, was a master sergeant, a sergeant major with the National Guard. You should apply. And I'm like, I'm not joining the National Guard. No. And she's like, no, like she's like, basically they're wanting, so the MP unit of the National Guard that patrolled the desert out, at the end of Pleasant Valley, all the ranges, all the stuff out there. She's like, basically it's the MPs. Well, they've got deployments coming up. They get all these things. They don't have enough people to continue operating.
Oh, so you sub in for them.
So basically you would be a civilian MP, but they're like, we've never had a true civilian because everybody that was a civilian was either, a Marine or, prior service.
Okay.
And so she's like, but you should do it. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to them and, I sent them like all my stuff and they're like, well, yeah, like, you would be our first true civilian. It's going to be weird with logistics because like you've got tattoos and a beard and all this stuff. Your chain of command is all military, but you answer, I answer to admin, which is state people, you know what I mean? But I was still like essentially an MP with them. So it was like kind of an odd thing. And I was like, okay, cool. So I applied and it was very weird because again, everybody there was dual status. They worked for Gowan full time and they were in the National Guard.
Okay.
So I was like this oddball coming in and, it was kind of cool.
I didn't know you did any of this.
Yeah. It actually gets kind of even a little crazier than that because so I patrolled out there all the way from Gowan. You get all the way out. Do you know where that training area is out there? Yeah. So you patrol the whole ranges. Dude, I got to do some really cool stuff that like normal civilians would never get to do. Like, riding in Bradley, shooting mortars, doing, CQB type stuff.
Yeah.
We had Ranger units, a couple, SEAL teams that would come through and
all the A-10s you got.
Yeah.
You got those guys. I got to go to Hog Smoke last time it was out there.
Have you seen the Afghan city out there?
No.
So there's a full Afghan city out there.
Really?
That they were doing like little bird infills on. Like I was watching this Ranger unit, like they came back from deployment, were here training for 2 weeks, and then were taken back off to go do something. And like, so I had to get all these clearances because I was, sorry, my phone keeps ringing. So I'm getting all these clearances as a civilian. And so, which getting into that is kind of weird. I don't know how that works, but must be a database or something. Mm-hmm. So when they saw the law enforcement, because I was considered a peace officer, and then they saw me as a civilian MP for the Army, and then they saw my clearance, all of a sudden I started getting like overseas contracts, people emailing me going, hey, do you want to go do this? You want to do security for this? We need.
It's the security clearance. I mean, it costs a lot and does,
I didn't realize that,
It's a lot that goes into those.
So basically out there patrolling, doing our stuff. We're mainly there for military personnel,
Mm-hmm.
Especially on training weekends, stuff like that. But because we share that desert with civilians, like we've got speed limits, we worked a lot with ISP, we worked a lot with BLM, like all these, departments that were out there. Like when, for some reason, when people would get in high speed chases, they would get off at stage stop, off the freeway and take off out to the desert. Those guys don't know the desert. So then they would call us, say, hey, we've got this car coming in. We would join the pursuit. And we knew that 115,000 acres like the back of our hand, every range, everything.
Yeah.
Tweakers would go out there to like the Apache, ranges and, from all the Bradleys and all the stuff that, the shells and
try to pick up brass and
things.
things.
Yeah. All that stuff. So we're dealing with that suicides, a lot of that stuff. Like, dude, the amount of people that go out to the desert and kill themselves is insane. I would say more than half military veterans. It was hard. That's where I was in basically a gun standoff with a guy by myself, and my back wouldn't come out of the office, and it was a whole thing. Yeah, I was screaming on the radio. I was like, "Get your fucking ass out here!" Like, I've got this guy. Basically, I'm sighted down on this guy. I've got the trigger, basically the trigger compressed. And I'm like screaming at this dude. It ended up, that's a whole nother story that we can get into as well. But being shot at and stuff like that. I mean, there's people out there shooting all the time. So you're cruising the truck, you're all dink off the side of your truck. You're like, people are shooting at each other. It's Wild West out there, dude.
Oh, that place, I stopped going out there a while back because it's just, you have everybody shooting in every direction, civilian wise.
Yeah.
Just to go out to the BLM and do whatever. And oh my God.
And nobody pays attention.
Nope.
Dude, I'm telling you,
I'm surprised more people aren't shot out there.
Me too.
You were out, do you ever hear about it?
Oh yeah. We responded to self-inflicted gunshot wounds, suicides, people shooting, at each other. I would crest a hill and I'm hearing through the through the windows that are down, like that's, the noise of it. You can tell when a bullet's coming at you,
for sure.
And I'm like, okay, that's coming from somewhere. So I look that direction, and then these people are over here. All that's covering is a sagebrush, and they're literally shooting at each other. I'm like, oh my God.
I've seen that so many times.
Dude.
The last time I went out there, we were over a hill. This dude was just mowing down. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm dead. This is, it's the fact that people bring their kids out there. It's so scary.
It's gotten really bad over these last couple of years.
Oh, I couldn't even. It's been a couple of years since I've been out there. I'm sure it's a war zone.
I would say, but it was, we were, again, we were law enforcement. The unit they were all MPs. I was the only civilian. So it was a very odd thing. Cause that was the other thing too. Like, we'd have Utah Guard, we'd have all these different people out there. Cause people come from all over the country to train out there because of what, is out there.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have these sergeant majors and stuff, speeding down like in the middle of a training weekend. We got, 2,000 people out there in the ranges. These guys come, flying around the corner, doing 40 in a 15. Mm-hmm. I pull them over and they're like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I was like, I'm a civilian. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, dude,
your rank don't mean shit to me.
Yeah, give me all your paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And I'm citing them. And dude, I would get, then, the chain of command that I would deal with would be calling me. And the best part is my big boss.
Yeah.
He was also civilian, but he was at a 2-star general pay. So he is the anti-terrorism, whatever for the state of Idaho.
Really?
He was a Marine. I think he worked on Marine 1. I forgot what he was. I don't want to speak out of context.
I'd like to get him on the podcast.
Tim Campbell. The dude is a baller.
Yeah.
There's another dude, side note real quick. The dude interviewed with me, not with me, but about the same time. And apparently he had gotten an Article 15 for something. And so he was like asking him, I could hear him in the interview. He was like, so you got an Article 15, like, why? And the kid was like, well, it was a drill weekend, and, I woke up, I wasn't feeling well. I couldn't get a hold of my first sergeant, and, so I just didn't show up. And he's like, so you just didn't show up, or are you fucking retarded? And I'm like, what? And the kid's like, well, I just didn't show up. And he's like, cool, get out of my office. You're not getting hired.
No shit.
Yeah. This dude is like he is the perfect Marine. Like anybody I've talked to that has like been prior Marine that changed the Army or whatever, like that guy's like gnarly.
No shit. How long did you do that for?
About 2.5 years, which is actually where I met my now business partner, Chris, who is he was my boss at the time. And then now.
And what do you got going on now?
So now I'm in a construction business, a remodel construction company.
Which is wild.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed building stuff and doing things, man.
You're gonna remodel this whole entire room.
Let me add it. No, it honestly, I got to, like I said, once my the law enforcement stuff stopped, I kind of realized I didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I really kind of went through some dark times and shit, I don't know what I want. Like something I thought I wanted, like part of the main reason we moved to Idaho, like all this stuff. And I just didn't know what I wanted. And I'd always enjoyed building things. So I really started as like a handyman. Well, I mean, my whole life, I've always kind of built stuff. I've worked construction with friends and stuff, but I started doing handyman stuff and then just started, taking on bigger jobs and started getting kind of brought on to other jobs. So then I'm like, dude, I enjoy this. So then I went and got my contractor's license, started my business. Just doing room remodels and then, smaller projects, staying in my lane. And then tried to bring some people on, but that was kind of during the end of COVID. People were getting paid to stay home, so nobody wanted to work.
Nobody still wants to work.
Yeah. And so I figured, I was like, well, if I want to grow, I need to either have someone that's got equity into the company or, something that, entices them to want to work. So I was talking to Chris, and he's been in the Army for 22 years, 23 years, something like that. He was active duty for a certain amount, and then he went to the Guard. He's been a majority Guard, but, he was done doing the security stuff, that I was doing with him. And he's like, I just want something else, And so I basically told him this year, I was like, hey, I'll partner with you. And so we partnered up. But little side note real quick to go back. So remember I was saying earlier about the clearances and all that stuff. Yeah. So I start getting hit up for all these contracts. So I'm totally drawing a blank right now, and I can find the company after we're done talking and stuff. But so they sent me an application. They're like, hey, we see that you're civilian, you have all this, blah blah, your clearances. This was August or September before the Afghan pullout.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're like, hey, we want to bring you in as a security force.
Aegis ran that contract because I took over that contract from Armor Group.
Yep.
And then we took over with Aegis, and then I got fired.
I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah. So they're like, we want to bring you over. Kabul's very, and I told them, I was like, I'm not military, right? They're like, no, we understand, but you have the clearances, you've got the background, you have all this stuff. You won't do too much outside the wire type stuff. You'll be kind of just doing embassy security and patrols and whatnot. And I was like, oh, it might be cool, but it was 3 months on, 3 months home, 3 months on, 1 month home. So it was a 1 year contract. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it was decent money. They said, as you do contracts and you gain the experience, not only does your pay go up, and then you can start doing more the high speed. Cause they also had the high speed stuff that I'm like, that would be sick, but
it wasn't.
Was it not?
No, it was fucking,
dude, it read so cool. I'm like,
it reads cool as no.
I'm such a baby though.
It probably wouldn't cool to you, but it was miserable for us. All the high-speed shit, you're sitting in a fucking vehicle all night.
That's true.
Dudes farting and just protein shaking. It was horrible.
That's probably true. Yeah. It sounded cool, but it was a lot of it was you had to have 4 years special operations and all that kind of stuff, So I was like, you know what? Yeah. So I submitted, and Chris, my business partner at the time, he had submitted too, but because he had I think 4 deployments and actually combat deployments, he was kind of offered something different. Which was weird because we were going to work together. He was just going to be my boss out there. So I was still going to go out the wire and do stuff. But yeah, I just, for some reason, again, Ashlyn was making really, really good money and, relatively. And she was like, why? Like, why are you going to do that? Like, I understand
fuck that place.
It'd be cool to go experience, but like, and I told him like, babe, they said they haven't had any issues in Kabul in, years. And, it'd be cool to experience. It's 3 months. I'll be home, blah, blah, blah. And, so I ended up, I would have been in the academy like the beginning of January, and I was supposed to get in country 10 days before the pullout happened. And I backed out of the contract that December. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. I had buddies that were, cause we
obviously didn't know that was going to happen, right? It just happened that way, but that
was a wild time. I had buddies that, because when Armor Group lost the contract, that's when they brought us in. We were the first wave in, and those dudes were there till the embassy fell. But it was, I have pictures on my phone, on Facebook. I had my boys that were stayed on that whole time, which was wild. That was one of the worst. That was the worst job I've ever worked in my life.
Really?
That job. Yeah, working in the embassy was horrible. I had dysentery. We all had dysentery. We had dysentery for like, dude, it was miserable. But those dudes were sending me Facebook. They were messaging me like, "Yo, we're burning everything." I have pictures of these pits. They were digging giant pits, and they would go and they were pulling out cabinets of all the paperwork, and they were loading them in like trucks and front end loaders, and they were just dumping them in pits and just burning them, just throwing fucking tanks of diesel in there. I got all the videos and months. I want to say months, weeks to a month before anything even touched here. They already knew they were done over there. They already knew, and they were burning everything. They burned everything at the embassy. I have all of it on my phone.
That's what leads me to believe like there's such bigger power to play, because like I said, this was literally within 6 months prior. I had to do their 6-week academy, which would have been like January, and then we would have basically shipped out. I think it was like, again, I can look it up on my thing, but I want to say it was like first week of March, like 2021 is when we were supposed to get in country for our first rotation.
Yeah, I think I was on a rafting trip. I was on a rafting trip with a bunch of guys, and when we got off the raft, that was end of August, beginning of first week of September, when we all got service. It was like Afghans falling.
Yeah.
That I pull that, and we were all like, "What the fuck happened?" Because we did like a backcountry trip with a bunch of guys. That's when I want to say it was September, but that's crazy, dude. Yeah. So now you're doing construction remodels now. How's business? Business
has been good. Like I said,
what's the name of the company?
It's called Guardian Custom Builds and Design.
Cool.
It's hard because I partnering with Chris and stuff. I wanted to legitimize, and I was really kind of doing more of the handyman, smaller stuff by myself. Yeah. And it's honestly, it's been really good. Like, we haven't spent a penny on marketing. Everything's been word of mouth. We've been growing steadily. Man. I want to bring people on. Yeah. So I can take on more. Again,
here's your plug.
There we go. I appreciate it. Come work with me. No, like I want to, I'm not trying to not work. I would like to just get a couple crews and grow and take care of the Valley. We are, again, veteran owned and operated now, with Chris being, a veteran. He's still in. And I think I don't want to say it was a business decision by any means. I mean, Chris is a good buddy. But I didn't realize how much the VA helps with, certain stuff like this, with growing with loans, with, just really growing our business. And because I'd already had kind of an established handyman side to the business, instead of Chris like buying in, he was bringing in his side of, he's going, hey, like, this is the value that I can bring and grow. Yep. He's an honest dude. He's the type of person that you could leave $1,000 on the table, and that's what you need in business. Know what I mean? Yeah. And so he's just a good dude, man. And, so I really like the veteran owned and operated at this, now, we do to first responders, veterans, really anybody in those communities. We give discounts to remodels and stuff. We are this next year, I want to bring on like 2 to 3 people, for the remodel stuff. I really want to grow the handyman side, build like, teams of 1 and 2. Yeah. But I was going to talk to you with, with wishes and stuff, and, figuring something out to get guys out there that are wanting to work and starting to put together like a handyman side of the business that gives people, and I don't know the logistics. Again, this is just something I was talking to Chris about, and I'm like, because he's talking about going to the VA, and he's like, he sees people all the time, and he tells them what he does, and they're like, oh man, I love building stuff or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I feel like there's something to that, you know?
I got a guy here that I need to get you connected with.
That'd be awesome.
He's one of the hardest working dudes I've ever met in my life, but he knows everybody, you know, but this dude just grinds. So I need to get you connected with him. And he would, he works with us with wishes and everything. So he's that dude.
That's cool.
He can definitely point in, and we need to definitely talk some more about that.
And like I said, it's not like I'm looking for these like highly skilled people. I just
give people opportunities.
Yeah.
I gave a kid an opportunity once. It was when I was working in Vegas.
Yeah.
I had 155 employees that I hired myself.
Wow.
And 95% of them were National Guard or veterans.
Yeah.
He was a little Mexican kid that worked at El Pollo Loco.
Love it.
And he had my dinner because living out of hotels.
Yeah.
Every night I got home, I would get to the hotel, drop my shit. I'd walk right across the street because at that time it was like the only healthiest thing, and you know I was still trying to be yoked at that time. He would have because I just ordered just grilled chicken and rice and shit, right? He would have my meal ready for me every single night. And this is actually a great story. This is why I try to give everybody an opportunity.
Yeah.
And after a couple of weeks, and I'd walk in every night, and he would have it bagged, ready to go. I just hand him my card, and he just knew every night. And finally one night, I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "Do you like your job?" And he's like, "Fuck no, I hate this place." And I wasn't expecting that as a response, but I started laughing my ass off. And I was like, "Hey," I was like, would you like a better opportunity and make some real money?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I would."
Yeah.
I gave that kid my business card right there on the spot. And I'm walking back across the street and my phone dings, and he had emailed me before I got back to my hotel.
Dude, that's cool.
I hit this kid up, and he ended up being my best employee. He ended up following me from Vegas back to we worked in Palmdale, and he followed me all the way down to San Diego with like 3 more projects after that. He ended up staying on until I left the company, and the company ended up going under after I left. But he was my best employee out of 155 employees. He was this little Mexican kid that worked at El Pollo Loco, and I gave him an opportunity. He was the kid that I would call on a Sunday. I'd go check out my yards, our big structure yard. I would roll through yard, and out there the wind blows, and you get all the trash and everything from all the linemen and all that crap. I would call this kid, and he would answer his phone every single time. Like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, nothing, boss." I'd be like, "Get to the yard, pick up the trash, and log your hour." And that I would roll through a couple hours later. I mean, every vehicle was covered in a line. It almost like he got a plumb and like strung. Yeah. You would look down, it was just one truck,
That's
not
cool.
one piece of trash. And he followed me, and then he ended up coming to me, and he's like, "Hey, boss, like, I want a raise." And I was like, "Oh, you want a raise?" And he was shaking. This kid was sweating. You could just tell. He lived in a house. It was his grandmother, his mom, and all his siblings, and he was like the breadwinner for them all. And he came to me, and I was like, and he asked for a raise, and I was like, "What do you think you deserve?" And he's like, "Oh, like 50 cents." And I was like 50 cents. I'm like, "Listen, I'll make you a deal." I was like, "You get your GED, I'll give you a raise." I'm like, that's the only way I'm going to give you a raise. I'm like, "You deserve it, but I want you to better yourself if you're going to get a raise." This kid would bust his ass for me 24/7 and go to school at night, ended up getting his GED, and I gave him a significant raise.
Yeah.
His grandmother ends up calling me, like crying, talking to me how much it was going to make a difference. Then he follows me down we were working in Angeles Crest down in Palmdale.
Yeah.
And he came to me, it was like a year later, he came to me for another raise. And I was like, "I want you to get enrolled in school. I want you to start college. And I want to see how you're doing after your first semester." And he came to me, dude. He had good grades, gave him another raise. And then he followed me down to San Diego. I ended up promoting him to a project manager for me. And I don't know if I lost contact after him with that, but kid crushed it. So like that, I am one of those people. I've even had vets come to me that were straight up to me in their job interview that had dishonorable discharges. And I asked them, and if you're straight up and like straight to the point, no bullshit, man, I'm one of those people that I've always given everybody an opportunity. Because then at the same time, I have some guy that comes in and he's special force ranger sniper and ends up being the biggest piece of shit employee that I've had. So you never know. And then they could also be, I hired a guy that was a Marine, went Army, was a sniper, and he worked for me until I left the company. He ended up taking over for me. And when I left the company, unfortunately, like things just went downhill from there. But, so you never know that. And that's why I am one of those believers, man. Like, you just got to give everybody an opportunity 100%. And you never know how it's going to work. And if they show your ass, like next, on to the next one.
I think there's a lot to be said about that. Cause it is right. I mean, it's, it's funny. I mean, I don't want to speak too much into like the military world, but obviously I follow it a lot between the Sean and Ryan show and all that kind of stuff. Right. But like, did you watch
in the Wild Chaos show?
Yeah. Wild Chaos. I was going to rate the whole Eddie Gallagher situation, you know, and the people, the divisiveness with that. And it's
Wild
crazy.
story.
So I don't mean to, you know, you can bleep that part out, by the way, the SRS. But it's just, you look at these guys and I mean, someone said, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a SEAL, I'm, you know, which is no easy feat. Don't get me wrong. I'm not considering question that by any means, but I've noticed that a lot of people use their resumes of their titles to make it seem like there's something, you know, it's like,
that's because their resume, their title of what they did in the military becomes their identity.
I feel like that's got to be what it is.
And it's one of my pet peeves. Like, you know, you see these, I'm a disgruntled veteran, I'm this. And it's just like, that was such a small chapter.
Yeah.
I did 2 deployments. I did 8 years. I picked up E6. I accomplished so much in the military. There was that much on my timeline. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I hold that title till the day I die of being a Marine.
Yeah.
And I'll defend it no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's okay to like move on, and then you get these guys who are like, and then then you hire them because they're so drill. I'm a Ranger. I'm a SEAL. I'm Delta. Whatever. And it's like, God damn, this dude sucks.
So
it's like they can't work with people.
Yeah,
they have a problem with authority, and like. But then at the same time, you hire some of those guys, and it's like, I need you to blow a hole through all of this and come to me when you're done, and then they'll get it done.
Yeah.
But then other ones are like, they can't figure out how to function because their life structure is different.
Yeah.
Because they're so used. Wake up this time, train at this time, eat at this time, go to bed, and that's their life. But then when you give them freedom, they don't know how to handle it because that's their identity. That's all that's it. That's their whole life was built around that. And I've talked to guys before that get out of the military and they're angry and they hate the life. And we all go through those phases, but it's like, dude, let it go. And I know it's easier said than done for others, but it's like, dude, you're a father, you're trying to start a business or you got a new job. Like, focus on that. Make being an amazing dad your identity. Like, if I'm on my deathbed, I could give a fuck if he was like, man, Bam was a Marine. I don't give a shit. Kids loved him. Incredible father.
The memories.
Worked as hard as he could to be a good husband. Had my challenges. But it's like, that's my legacy. That's my identity 100%. That I want. But these guys, it's like, dude, it's cool. And then be proud.
Yeah.
Served your country. Went to war. Did whatever you did. Rock that. But it's like, that's where a lot of those dudes, and I've noticed it. I had this conversation not too long ago. Some of the worst employees I had were some of the most stellar military guys that on paper. And you hire them, and you're just like, what the fuck is with this guy? Like, this is the easiest task. But they just can't figure it out because that's their whole world's built around it. So
I do have one last question for you though on that. So doing the security stuff for the guard, one of my good buddies, Mac, so he's a Marine. There was another Marine hired. And I didn't know this, obviously, but apparently there's 2 different types of Marines. I don't remember what they called him, but I felt like when this other Marine, he was basically a grunt, like he, multiple combats, or deployments. Mac had 0 deployments, both in the exact same amount of time.
Call him a pogue?
Yeah, but it was, so Mac, when he got out, or, I don't know. I don't remember the exact whole story. Basically, he ended up doing all of his time at the White House. So he constantly felt like his service was like insignificant to the guy that, was telling war stories and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Both same, in the same amount of time, all the different stuff, both Marines, but Matt got an opportunity to go to the White House and whatever he did there. And this other guy would kind of shit on him all the time, basically like you're a nobody. And so I was telling Mac, I'm like, look, it's not my position to, say anything, but I'm like, I feel like at the end of the day, you both sign the dotted line. Somebody has to do that job and somebody has to do that job.
Yeah.
Is it just an interpersonal thing, or
you could break down so many layers in the military. So you have pogues and you have grunts, right?
Yeah.
Grunts is your 0311 trigger pullers. Yeah. That's the tip of the spear
like
for the Marine Corps,
stuff,
right? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Then you have pogues, which are personnel other than grunts. So you have this. We actually have a video right now that's going crazy for Wildcats because we have a Marine. His name's Frank. He was a pogue, and he's talking about what it was like pre-war, right? Yeah. This is actually a great example. You bring this up. I've been watching this. It's been insane. The dividedness, I guess, the division in the veteran community, right? These guys, this guy's a fucking pogue. He's a pogue. He's a pogue.
Yeah.
they didn't listen to the episode, but like Frank was a generator mechanic. His story's hilarious. He was running, getting out of, he got in trouble. He was going to go to jail. The Marine Corps was his option. He was like, I just need to get in. Yeah. He ends up becoming a generator mechanic, has no idea what he's doing. But anyways, he ends up getting deployed for the initial push in Iraq. Fucking yeah. Dude, any dude that did the push, any dude that did the push, hat off to him. Those dudes were living in mop suits for like a month at a time, shitting and pissing in those things. Like the stories that my seniors told us about living in mop suits, like, so then you have those guys, oh, you weren't in during the invasion. You came in after the invasion. Oh, you're a everybody, that guy at the White House, he probably has his guys that he looks like different to, like, oh, well, you weren't at my level, right? Yeah. I'm technically a pogue. I'm not a grunt. I'm an Amtracker. Even though we got to Iraq, they took our vehicles away. We're ground mounts the whole entire time. I'm not a grunt. My MOS is 1833, which doesn't exist anymore. They actually did away with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our MOS is what separated us from the Army. They still have it. They changed now. It's a whole new vehicle. It's crazy. They just retired our vehicles. Like, I was a part of the Marine Corps history that doesn't exist anymore. Now we're history. That's cool. We don't. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, but I'm not a grunt, right? Yeah. So it's like, you see all these guys like, he's a pogue. It just, to me, dude, especially if you signed after 9/11, I don't give a fuck what you did. You signed that dotted line. Now, if you admin, paper pushers, I think that should all be civilian jobs in the military anyways to create more jobs in our country.
100%.
You don't need to join the military to be a paper pusher. You join the military to defend your country. That's just my opinion. But if you joined after 9/11 during the time of war, when Afghans kicking off, Iraq's popping, like, bro, you joined, I don't care. Like, you served your country. Don't go telling war stories and shit and putting yourself in somebody else's situation. But like, and if you didn't deploy, I've never really been like, you didn't deploy, like, fuck, lucky.
Yeah.
Fuck, I was over there rotting away, dealing with the dumbest shit I've ever dealt with in my life, staring at some asshole building a berm for months on end. Like, it sucked. Like, I didn't have, like, we had fun, but like, I wasn't in there kicking in doors and doing crazy shit. And like, I don't give a fuck. Like, so everybody has their military status of what they did, and it's teach their own. And some guys are going to listen to me like, oh, that guy's an idiot. He didn't do shit. Okay. I don't give a fuck, dude. I got a beautiful family. I'm happy with life. Like, I get to travel with my kids and do whatever I want. That's what I look at now. You can say whatever you want to me. So it's all a mindset, but like, I get it. Some guys like, dude, but you look at a guy like Galvan, like triple amputee. Dude he was a kid, he's going to look at somebody in the White House. And I mean, Eric does. And Eric looks at everybody. He's an incredible guy.
I
can
like, see the animosity. Yeah.
But like, oh, you never even did anything. So you do have that animosity because that dude that went over there and did 3 or 4 deployments or 2 or 3 deployments, whatever, maybe like, now he's fucked. He's got demons. He's got a battle. So he looks at those. I personally think it's more of a jealousy thing. I personally so we call it the White House on Pendleton. Once I did my deployments, I came back. I got hand selected to be the 1st Marine Division Color Sergeant. I got to travel the world with the colors, with the 1st Marine Division flag, which is the most highly decorated division in the Marine Corps. Yeah. So there's streamers that hang off that. We have more streamers because we've been in more battles, more conflicts. We've accomplished more. It's the Blue Diamond, man. We are so fucking legendary. Like, that's the shit I'm proud of. Yeah. That I can say I represented the 1st Marine Division for 2 years, marching around the world representing the most decorated division in the Marine Corps. Yeah. Like, to me, that's fucking cooler than anything I did. I got to go to Guadalcanal, which is where the 1st Marine Division was formed, with Chesty Puller. They weren't even the recon. They was the Raiders. Like, I got to go in fighting hosts. I was the first, I'm going to get some flack for this one, and I got pictures to prove it. I was the first Marine to go in the 1st Marine Division headquarters in Guadalcanal during the island hopping campaign. They found that shit 2 days before we were there for I don't remember what year. I want to say it was like the 73rd anniversary. I could be way off on that. Yeah. But they flew all these guys that stormed the beaches. They flew them back to Guadalcanal for this ceremony, and I got to go there. It was a shit show. I didn't even get to present the colors. Nothing. Australia seized all of our shit. They said it was war memorabilia. They wouldn't even let us bring our guns or our flags. So I just showed up and got the party
by yourself.
I got to show up and party for a week with a bunch of these dudes that stormed the beaches and hear all their stories. That's a whole other podcast.
I feel like you couldn't even buy a ticket to something like that,
Once in a lifetime experience. And I got to do that. And to me, it was like, cool. Like, you'd be like, oh, I've been Afghan 6 times this. I was like, bro, I'm the 1st Marine that crawled in the fucking hole. It was the size of a steering wheel We're driving a bus with a tour guide. Sitting in the back with this old timer that stormed the beach. His name was Ernest. He was telling me stories how they used
salty as shit too.
They used to catch dudes with Dobermans. They had Dobermans over there, and they released these dogs. They would listen for screams. They would go up there, and he said instead of firing shots, they would tomahawk these dudes with their rifles. He said if you hit a Jap just right, you can sink your buttstock to their jaw in their skull if you chop them hard enough.
No way.
He's like, I wasn't down for slitting throats. He's like, that was a little too much. These are the stories I'm getting to hear with these guys. Like, so like, cool. You got, I mean, I did.
Well, times are way different too. Yeah.
Yeah. And did 2 deployments, dude, to Iraq. Like I got some of my best friends to the day I die because of those deployments. But like doing that was cooler than anything that I've ever done before. But like the fact that like we're driving this bus, this little local comes running out of the woods because their tour guide lived there. He's an American that like has embedded himself in the like history of Guadalcanal and the memorabilia and the shit they would be digging up. Like the dude was awesome. Guy comes running up there yelling, screaming all this crazy shit. And he's like, you found it? You found it? They're like, yeah. I have pictures. I'm sure Britt has them in a shoebox somewhere. They're like, they found the 1st Marine Division headquarters. And I'm like, what do you mean they found it? They're like, they've been looking for this ever since.
That's so crazy.
We bail off this dirt road, go down into this jungle, and this little local comes crawling out of this hole, like the size of a steering wheel on your truck. And I'm like, this is it? And they're saying this is it. I'm like, I'm going in. And the tour guide's like, no, this is too dangerous. I looked at this dude. I go, I don't give a, my exact words, I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm going in there. I'm the 1st Marine Division Color Sergeant. I represent the division that was founded during this war at this location. Like this is the history. I'm representing the Blue Diamond that I represent was founded in this fucking hole. I'm going in.
That's so sick.
I crawled in that hole. The only light I had was my wind-up camera, and I'd hold down the flash button and take a picture. And there was hallways with rooms cut into the dirt in the side of this mountain, whatever.
Yeah.
Still had furniture and shit in there from when they banded it in the war during the war.
That's so
like that's the cool story to me. I look at everybody like, you ain't fucking did that.
That's so cool though.
So it's like everybody's got the perspective, you know, like, and so that was the coolest shit. And we went and saw the Amtraks, the original Amtraks that stormed the beaches with these dudes. I have it in the garage downstairs. I worked a chunk of the metal and I broke a chunk off this Amtrak. I was like, so you're coming home with me. Yeah. It was like history. I got barbed wire for where Chessie Puller and the Raiders were dug in. Like I've been to Red Beach. If you Google Red Beach, it was where a platoon or a battalion of Marines were dug in, where a river comes out of the forest into the ocean.
Yeah.
And they were dug in all their fighting holes, and a whole entire battalion of the Japs come down the beach and had no idea this platoon of Marines were there with machine guns waiting for them. And they said as soon as they got to the water, you could look all this, it's crazy.
No, this is interesting.
In Ernest, the dude I'm with, was one of the Marines that was there. He said that the enemy was so close, you could almost hear him breathing before they opened fire and they chopped down. He said the bodies were so thick you couldn't see the sand.
I couldn't even imagine. Like, that's a different breed, dude. I don't feel like they don't make them like that anymore.
Dude, we got kids wanting to cut their dicks off. And here these guys are lying, signing a waiver.
Yeah, 15 years old.
16 years old, storming a beach.
That's
where they're getting told 75% of you aren't making it off the beach to the forest.
Yeah.
We went to the beach where he stormed.
That's so.
And they took us to the beach, and he was standing there by himself. And I walk up to him, and I'm like, "Hey, you good, buddy?"
Yeah.
And he turns to me, he's in tears. And it was like, dude, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It was just him and I. And there's a bunch of other, Marines and people that were with us. And I was like, you good? I kind of throw my arm around him. He was a tall guy, really tall guy. And I was like, you good? And he's like, man, this is where I stormed the beach. And there was this monument, like stone thing that was there. It almost looks like the Washington Monument, like the spike, the big. There was a small version of it. Same shape, and it had like a square that went to a point.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to know what's crazy, Bam? And I'm like, well, he goes, I stormed this beach when I was 17 years old or something like that. He was 17. He was young.
So
I remember
crazy.
telling me. And I go, does it look like when you stormed the beach? And he's like, no. He goes, when we stormed the beach, he's like, they told us 75. That's where I got that number. He goes, they told us that 75% of the first wave wouldn't make it off the beach. He's like, it was our job to just get as far as we could. He goes, when we hit the beach,
Just power in numbers type of thing. They're just
they
like,
just throw wave after wave until the enemy mag changes and you get enough up the beach. He said he stormed the beach, and I was like, what's different about it? He goes, when I hit the beach, he goes, I remember running forever. He goes, the forest looks a lot closer. And he goes, he goes, I screamed and screamed and screamed as I ran, waiting to be shot. And he goes, not one shot was ever fired. The enemy had no idea they were storming the north end of the beach, and there was nobody even there. They hit the beach and they're like got to the woods, and everyone was looking around. He said it was crazy. It was one of the greatest experiences of like my military career, was going back for the anniversary of where these dudes that were kids stormed these beaches, and I got to go back. It's like it would be like our grandkids going back to like Fallujah and Baghdad and and like going with their grandfathers and them like, oh, I fucking killed dude, like that's what it would be compared to. It was wild, bro. Last story, we'll get this one. There's a monument, like the unknown soldier or whatever, that's like a shared with us and their enemy at the time, and it's on the top of this like mountain, but it's cliffed. It's all cliffed out.
Okay.
And I'm looking over the cliff, and I'm talking straight down, just jungle straight down. And one of the other guys that wasn't earnest, he said him and his buddies, they had watch up there every night. And he's like, we would be really quiet. And he's like, you can hear the enemy climbing the cliffs at night coming up. He's like, so we would shoot flares. And he's like, you would see where they were. You can see them climbing as we look down. He said we would get so good at pulling the pin and milking the grenade, like letting it go. He's like, we could count before we'd let them go. So the grenades would pass by them and explode. And he's like, you would just see bodies come off the walls.
That's so gnarly.
Can you imagine fighting that war? Like we thought we had it bad because we didn't know who our enemy was. And now you look at Ukraine and shit. Yeah. These dudes are taking down helicopters with drones. Like how the battlefield has changed. Like it's wild, man.
And the crazy part is it's all in the same
lifespan.
Exactly. There's still guys from World War II that are watching a FPV drone into a fighting hole, and some dude's just sitting there fucking wiping his ass, and a drone takes him out. It's absolutely insane to me. It's like
I could only imagine where
I don't know which one I would rather have, to be honest with you. Like if I were to,
I would not, dude. No way I would fight with drones. You imagine we're having a conversation in a fighting hole, and a fucking grenade comes rolling in the door, and you hear a drone. Talk about PTSD. Every time you hear a mosquito, you're gonna be shitting your pants for the rest of your life.
I feel like I don't want to say that that World War II generation, those guys are just
hard motherfuckers, dude.
Yeah.
And then taking ships that on the way there, like nobody talks about that life.
Exactly. And that's why, like, I just feel like that, not only, I just feel like that allegiance to the country and that pride and stuff too. I mean, people were, I guess
they were prideful then.
Yeah. Like, what do they always say? Like, I hope another 9/11 doesn't happen, but I pray for another 9/12, right? Because there's the unification. And
I think we're going to see a big change here. Obviously, with this political environment, shit doesn't happen. I mean, you're already looking, dude, Britt was just showing me that RFK just made this website that now anybody can go on, any civilian can go on, and you can start a petition.
Yep.
And people, dude, there's hundreds of thousands of people signing these petitions. Why is there lead in deodorant?
Yep.
You just go and vote for the petition. You don't have to be a politician, a senator, nothing. That's the type of shit that needs to bring us together. Like, why aren't we the healthiest country in the world? Why aren't we the strongest country in the world? See what I'm saying? So I think there's going to be a big change, and we're not even going to get into fuck politics right now. But dude, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
I
feel like we covered a lot, but I also feel like we could also go deep, like into some stories too.
We can come back and do it again. Hopefully we hit record because this is our first episode here. So
hopefully,
since we have no idea, now we got to figure out how to edit this thing. But dude, thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and it was good catching up with you. It's been a while. We gotta get a beer, and
it's been way too long.
There's a lot of work coming this way. I want to fill you in on. So
yeah, like I said, I'm excited. I appreciate you guys. I'm glad to see you guys killing it.
Yeah, when's the last time you seen her? She was a little kid.
Little kid. I'm saying trying to think.
7, 8?
Yeah. It would have been, 2016?
17, 18 when we moved here.
When did you move here?
I don't know, what year was it? 17.
So it would have been 17 when we wrestled in the front lawn.
I think I threw up that night.
Yes, it was your birthday. Yeah. And then Andrew puked too.
Yeah.
That dude can grapple too. He was a lot stronger than I thought he was.
He thought he can grapple. Well, dude. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Dude.